This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Here's an RPO tipped up into the air, picked up by the Colts at the 5-yard line, and they've got the ball. They tipped it up into the air and intercepted. Latu. It's his third interception this season. Jones out of the gun, ball on the left hash, backs to throw, looking, throws right, caught the goal line, and that's a touchdown for the Colts. Back in to throw is Jones, looking, fires into the end zone, and it's a catch for a touchdown, and it's Drew Ogletree. Ball on the right hash, Jones gives off to Jonathan Taylor on a counter, follows his blocker, first down and more. Over on the right sideline, he is sprinting upfield for a first down, gallops inside the Chiefs half of the field, and Jonathan Taylor with a big explosive run.
Something wicked this way comes.
Kansas City can get a first down without scoring a touchdown. Now they got three people in the backfield with Mahomes. One on either side, and behind him is Kareem Hunt. They give it to Hunt, who jumps over the pile at the goal line, and he's in. Mahomes out of the gun. Three receivers deployed to the right side. Backs to throw, looking, fires, end zone, caught. Rasheed Rice, two-point conversion, good. Mahomes in his own end zone, looking to pass. Throws over the middle, run after the catch. 25, 30-yard line, over the far sideline, 40, 45, 50-yard line, and being pushed out of bounds is Rasheed Rice, as he caught a dart over the middle by Patrick Mahomes and used that speed to burn for a big play to the 50-yard line for a gain of 47 yards. Butker with a 25-yard field goal. Snap placement, kick is up, and it is good. And we're going to overtime. Kansas City 0-5 this year in one-score games. Snap, placement, kick is up, and it is good for the Chiefs. And they win in walk-off fashion in overtime.
Didn't execute in some key situations. Got to do a better job, I think, overall in our execution. And tough to have a stretch like that towards the end of the game.
I felt there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to get called that I felt good about in the past game. And we just weren't efficient doing it. And it starts with me. Being efficient on 1st and 10, at times we did that a little bit, but we didn't do it enough in the second half. It wasn't good enough. And it starts with myself. I think we got to be better in all phases. Run and pass, moving the football.
We got to be better in all three phases. Run, pass, special teams, whatever. That fourth quarter was a disaster yesterday. Good morning, everyone, and welcome into the Fan Morning Show. It is the day after the night before, and that's not always good news, and that's not the case today. Good morning, Kevin Bowen. I've got James Boyd on the way back from Kansas City today, although he will join us at 9 a.m. this morning. Kevin, where did the offense go in the fourth quarter and overtime? Like, it just disappeared. Wasn't like they were running through the Chiefs all day long, but, I mean, it just literally shriveled up and died in the fourth quarter yesterday.
Yeah, you abandoned your best player and a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter with the ball, and it ends in a loss. That's stinging for sure, and I think that's the most disappointing aspect. So yesterday's, you have one of the marquee wins in quite a while sitting there for you. You had created so many. You hear the highlights of the Latu or the Zaire Franklin strip of Kareem Hunt, and you had built a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. You had the ball, and yet I thought a lot of your own doing, particularly from Shane Steichen, a little bit of Daniel Jones certainly as well, leads to a loss, and now the urgency is heightened, to say the least, heading into Sunday with Houston and next Sunday in Jacksonville.
Yeah, and the Chiefs, if you look at Jonathan Taylor's numbers, okay. I mean, averaging better than 4 yards a carry, but most of it came on one play, and they just never really, especially in the second half, particularly in the fourth quarter, never got really any rhythm or anything going with that running game where they have in the past where slowly, almost like the tug of war, Kevin, we can feel that rope slowly starting to come your way, and you're about to win, and then all of a sudden it busts open. It never felt that way yesterday with that running game. Never felt like they were on the verge of breaking out.
Yeah, see, that's where I would push back. I
don't think they did, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's where I would push back in that I don't think they challenged Kansas City enough to test them in the fourth quarter. Jonathan Taylor is an elite running back. He's a home run hitter. And where does he thrive? When does he thrive is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, I agree with you in that
he thrives in the second half.
Yeah,
he thrives
I agree with that.
Particularly in the fourth quarter. Even if you take out the 83-yard run in Germany in the fourth quarter, this is a guy averaging over 6 yards per carry in the fourth quarter this season. It is a body blow boxing match sort of feel to Taylor in this run game, even when there is some tough sledding. You heard the 27-yard highlight there on the 3rd and 1. Over the course of 60 minutes, if you are able to create some body blows, Taylor has proven this season more than any other that he can break one. And to put the ball in the right arm of Daniel Jones for 8 straight passes there with the lead in the fourth quarter, to me is head scratching. It's, again, taking the ball out of your best player's hands. Sure, was it tough sledding at times for Taylor? Yeah, but again, he has created this, really aura around him where in the second half and fourth quarter games, he can break one. And if you allow him to have those opportunities, more often than not, he proves you right. And it was pretty frightening. I thought not only Shane Steichen's commitment to Daniel Jones, but then also Jones's play itself when you didn't need a field goal, you didn't need a touchdown, you just needed a first down or two to potentially ice that game away, and yet your offense couldn't come up with it at all.
I'm glad you explained that, because I agree with everything you said, and where I was coming back with that is also what you said. Shane Steichen, I don't know what he was thinking in the second half yesterday. He went away from Jonathan Taylor, his best player. They kept putting themselves – the one thing that they didn't do very well at all yesterday in the fourth quarter is they kept starting 2nd and 11, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 8, which is very unlike them, and that's where he got skittish and gun-shy. And it's like, oh, no, if I run Jonathan Taylor right now and we only get a yard or 2 yards, now we're going to have that 3rd and long again. Sometimes Shane is so creative and so clever, I think he outthinks himself sometimes. I don't know what they were doing yesterday, but you're right. With the game on the line right now, Jonathan Taylor's by far your best weapon. Daniel Jones still is not your best guy. And we can put all the team MVP stuff to rest at this point in time. Daniel Jones, when he has a clean pocket and everything's going well, is a really good quarterback. And he wasn't terrible yesterday, but he wasn't very good either. Is that fair?
Yeah, I thought he was awful, frankly, in the fourth quarter and overtime.
In the fourth quarter he was, but he dated the whole thing.
He was very fortunate they dropped that interception. That could have been obviously a massive turn of events there. So yeah, to me, I put the brunt of it at Shane Steichen and getting away from Jonathan Taylor. But I also didn't think your quarterback delivered for you at all. And it's not like you were asking him to do much. You were asking him to get a first down or two there over the final few drives. And again, great individual plays from Latu and Zaire Franklin. And the defensive the defensive assessment's kind of odd. Like, if you would have told me before the game Patrick Mahomes throws for the most passing yards he's had in like 35 straight games, I'd be like, wait, what? But yet I sit here and don't feel like the defense deserves that much blame. I don't know. I'm a little torn on it. It's like, Kansas City did go 90 yards on you when they needed it the most, and that is a frustrating element. But without the defense, you don't maybe get that first touchdown. Zaire Franklin, again, takes, 7 points off the board there with the Kareem Hunt fumble there late. So it just stings because, this is now with Daniel Jones himself, it's now kind of a 3-game sample size of, okay, now we have more of these questions, and the margin for error in the AFC continues to just shrink. Jacksonville somehow, some way pulls out another one out of their you-know-what, and you wake up today just a game up on the Jags, just 2 games up on the Texans, and you still got 4 left with both of those teams.
Nothing but top 10 by yards allowed teams on defense remaining for the Colts. It's not going to get any easier. And it's not just because you have good teams. Good teams usually have good defense. But I also thought that on stark display yesterday, you want to know what a franchise quarterback looks like and what an okay quarterback looks like? That's what it looked like in that game yesterday, Kevin.
Certainly.
Fourth quarter.
Certainly, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes doing Patrick Mahomes things, right?
Yeah, and there's part of me that sits here on this Monday morning, and yes, an element of it is like, welcome to the NFL, but I cannot believe that here we are approaching Thanksgiving with how the NFL season has played out here in 2025, and the Colts and the Bears have the same record. Like, in what universe do you feel like that the Colts have played the same level of football? And I know Mark is on the phone right now, so he'd probably love to chime in about the Bears, but that's just the reality of sometimes it's not necessarily the prettiest over 60 minutes. It's how you add up the W's and the L's. And Jacksonville, I think, is the poster child of it. I know they ran away from the Chargers a couple weeks ago, but they continue to just survive like none other, and yet they are a game back. And that puts so much pressure on Indianapolis here as December is right around the corner.
2 best wins for the Colts so far. They got a break. They got a penalty. They got the last second win against Denver. They got a nice road win against the Chargers. That's good stuff. But outside of that, how are the rest of the wins? You'll take them. They all add up the same. But mixed record so far. There are a lot of questions to be answered in the last few weeks here.
Well,
last month and a half.
That to me, I think, is the bigger. It's not necessarily, let's look at the quality of their wins through this season. I mean, they dismantled teams throughout the first 2 months of the year. It's more of how, it's not who you play, it's when you play them. That's kind of the old adage in the old NFL. And lately, Daniel Jones in this offense has been nowhere near, as dominant as it was earlier in the season. So they've been a totally different team at home. I think you have to acknowledge that. So I would still feel good about Sunday, but it's the top scoring defense in the NFL. And that edge duo of Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter, they get 10 days off. Is there any lingering effects from the Colts defense out there for north of 90 snaps on Sunday? The expectation is C.J. Stroud's back in the lineup. So a lot of questions. And again, heightened urgency, to say the least, coming up on Sunday.
All right, we got a lot to do. Check down coming up in a minute. We'll have James Boyd, the third member of our broadcast booth, in here at 9 o'clock. He'll join us from the road. He was in Kansas City yesterday. We'll also check in with Kyle Niedenrip, a pretty exciting weekend of high school football, and we'll check in on what the state finals look like this coming weekend as we continue on a Monday morning here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning. I wish we were talking about a victory Monday today, but it slipped away as the Colts lose to the Chiefs in overtime. 23-20 at Arrowhead Stadium yesterday. If you have to sum this thing up in a couple of sentences, a paragraph, Kevin Bowen, what do you tell everybody this morning if they didn't get a chance to see the game?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously stings. You had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter with the ball. You want to finish that off, get one of the more marquee wins. But, I thought you got away from your best player. Shane Steichen, quite the vote of confidence into Daniel Jones, and Jones certainly did not back that up whatsoever there. So that's probably how I would summarize it in short.
Yeah, if you want some raw statistics, I'll give you these yesterday. Jonathan Taylor, 16 carries for 58 yards, 27 of them coming on one run. Daniel Jones was 19 of 31 for 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. Didn't turn the ball over. But I don't know how many games you're going to win, Kevin. Here's the biggest statistic to me in some ways. 42 minutes of ball possession for the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday. That's an insanely high amount of possession.
Yeah, it is.
You just a lot of plays. Defense gets worn down, and Patrick Mahomes did his thing, and they rallied from a 20-9 deficit. The Chiefs did. They win on a field goal in overtime. Also, we haven't talked much about this yet. What do you think of the decision to take the ball first in overtime?
Yeah, I can listen to people on both sides of it. I know Romo was heavily against it. Shane Steichen would probably counter with, okay, there's 10 minutes on the overtime clock. If there is a third possession, then we get it, and they don't get it. I think that's a little bit of the thought process with that. If you're able to grind out, 7-8 minute drive, now they're up against the clock with it there as well. So I can definitely hear both sides out of it. Your defense was probably also gassed on what they had just given up there at the end of regulation. So sending them back out there, I don't know if that would have been the smartest move either.
We'll be talking about those things all morning long. The Colts now have their third loss of the year. They will roll on, and next week they will take on, all of a sudden, a very tough-looking defense with the Houston Texans, whose defense just looks nasty right now, Kevin.
Yeah, best defense in the league scoring-wise and the yardage-wise. So, yeah, Sunday, 1 o'clock, back in the AFC South, Iron Eagle, J.J. Watt on the call of this one, and the expectation is C.J. Stroud will be back in the lineup.
Do they want to, though? Davis Mills is riding the hot hand. 3-0. Come on, baby.
He's managing it well.
Yeah.
Good luck with that in the locker room. 34-7 last night. The Rams all over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they get a win there. And probably just for a safety more than anything. But Baker Mayfield did not finish that football game yesterday, Kevin. Thought that was interesting in the fourth quarter.
Boy, that left arm, left shoulder, it did not look good at all. It was probably a good thing he finally exited because I don't think he had really any business playing after he initially got hurt. But yeah, right now your MVP would be the old man out in L.A. Matthew Stafford is absolutely lighting up the NFL.
They look like the most complete team right now. Their defense is playing ferocious, and their offense is just lighting it up.
It's interesting. They've got so many receivers led by Puka Nacua, but, man, they need a big first down or a touchdown. They just go to number 17, and it seems like Devontae Adams either makes a great catch or he's just open every single time, Kevin.
Yeah, fitting. He's still got a little left in the tank once he leaves the Raiders.
All right, so that's a quick wrap-up of what's going on in the National Football League. We'll talk more about Jacksonville and the Texans as we move along through the morning. College basketball yesterday. Don't look now, as Butler got a halfway decent basketball team. They won a couple of games at Greenbrier, maybe not against top 10 opponents, but they're now 5-1 after an 80-73 win over Virginia yesterday.
Yeah, that's one of the best weekends Butler's had in quite some time. Massive to go get 2 neutral court wins. I think the Virginia win in particular will age very well. And if you look at the Big East right now, it's UConn, St. John's, and then who? So Butler is right there, honestly, if you look at it so far early in the season. So Finley Bizjack, outstanding. Great story. He's one of the few, one of the only that really stayed here after they've retooled the roster once again. He was outstanding there. So they get a big win over Virginia.
Yeah, 80-73 the final. Finley Bizjack had 25 points, and Gonzaga transfer Michael Ajayi paying dividends, 17 points, 14 rebounds. Jalen Jackson had 10 points. Butler will play again on Friday. Also yesterday, IU Indy losing to the Air Force in Colorado Springs, 98-85 was the final score there. Later on tonight, Kevin, I believe you might be aware that Notre Dame plays a college basketball game against number 24 Kansas this evening.
This afternoon.
Is it this afternoon? That's right.
Yeah.
I keep thinking this evening, but this afternoon in Las Vegas, I believe.
Cannot wait for that. We can't mention any college basketball without mentioning Purdue from over the weekend. That was absolutely dominant in what they did to Texas Tech on Friday night in the Bahamas. The fact that they get those 2 wins, and if you look at it, they're All-Americans, maybe weren't All-American-y. I mean, Fletcher Lawyer and C.J. Cox did a ton of heavy lifting, great balance in general for them. So, it's been one of the hallmarks of the Matt Painter era, particularly here as of late. They play in these non-conference tournaments. They're important for your resume. They send, I think, quite the message and set up the rest of your season. And Purdue, once again, goes onto a neutral floor early in the season and just dismantles great teams. And they did it to Texas Tech on Friday night. So, undefeated. Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Renn in these non-conference tournaments with great wins. I mean, top 15 teams galore they've beaten here in the month of November. So, outstanding work once again in Purdue, building quite the early season resume per usual.
You mentioned it briefly, but we've talked a lot about the depth of Purdue. How about with Kaufman-Renn in trouble? Jack Benton just came in and did a nice job, got some rebounds, played some defense, had an assist or two. I mean, they can come at you from everywhere.
Jack Benter from Brownstown Central.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to the football team here competing for a 2A state title coming up on, what is it, Saturday, I think, for the even classes?
Yep, Saturday for the evening classes. And that you mentioned that 6A tilt, man, that's going to be a good one. Brownsburg and Westfield, and Westfield coming up with a big win over Carroll, 35-14, but Brownsburg never even threatened by Warren Central, 31-0, the final score there. Also, it was the end of the line for Miles McLaughlin and Knox this past weekend. He will not get the all-time career rushing record for high school football. Derrick Henry still has that, but still, what an amazing high school career for Miles McLaughlin.
Shout out to Fort Wayne Bishop Lewers. Yeah, held him to 73 yards. Did you see how many carries he had?
I did not see the number of carries. I want to say it was 25 or 30 is all.
Was it?
I'll have to look back.
Yeah, obviously 73, an extremely low number for what he did there. So really the semi-state round, not a lot of great games, to be honest with you. Blowouts all over the place. Shout out to Cascade in 3A. So from a local standpoint, we got Roncalli in 4A as they pulled away from Heritage Hills. 5A, New Pal, once again, dominant over Bloomington South. You mentioned the 6A matchup there. And, Cascade in 3A. They won on Saturday over Gibson Southern. So they'll take on Lures coming up here on Friday.
All right, that's what's happening in high school football. College football gets back for Indiana and Purdue. That will be at Ross-Ade, 7:30 p.m. Friday night. Number 2 Indiana against Purdue. And I know that Indiana's been saying all the right things and talking about how competitive they've been and how much improvement they've had. But what does this game look like when we're all said and done at the end of Friday night, Kevin? It could be a rough night for the Boilers.
28.5-point underdog, is that right?
Ooh, I haven't even looked at the line yet.
What do you think Kurt Signetti will say today about Purdue to try to describe them as a good football team?
They've been competitive, and if they've gotten a break one way or the other in a couple of these games, we might be talking about a different football team here.
That might be
That's kind of what he says, right?
Signetti quote. Just make sure it's not as bad as last year. Would that be a step in the right direction?
I think that would be a huge step in the right direction. Number 9 Notre Dame plays Stanford on Saturday. I know you're looking forward to that one, Kevin. Do the Andrew Lucks scare you at all right now?
One thing I know about Andrew Luck, and he might pop up again later in this show, but one thing I know about Andrew Luck, that man hates Notre Dame more than anybody I know. Hates Notre Dame. So I'm nervous. And Frank Reich's too nice of an individual, and that makes me nervous. Did Notre Dame just score again against Syracuse?
Yeah, they dropped 70 on the Orangemen, 70-7. Did you watch the entire 60 minutes, or did you go ahead and say, okay, this one's in the books?
Every single minute. I would like for every Syracuse broadcasting alum to have to tweet about their football team today, because they always tweet about them whenever they win. Can they all tweet about them today? Notre Dame's up 21-0 before C.J. Carr touched the football. And the Heisman Trophy winner should be Jeremiah Love, right? We all are in agreement on that?
There might be some folks in Bloomington that'll be
the best player in college football is Jeremiah Love.
239-1070. You want to talk to Kevin about the best college football player, whether it's Fernando Mendoza or Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love is certainly making his case, Kevin. All he does is run for touchdowns. He's just going to let it stand on that right there.
Shout out to UIndy, Mark. They advanced. I saw beat Truman over the weekend. I think that's the first time they will have ever hosted a second-round playoff game
here.
here.
Put up 57 in that game?
Put up a big number, yeah. Minnesota, I think it was Minnesota State maybe upset Findlay, so UIndy will host this weekend. DePaul will host as they had the weekend off there as the D3 playoffs will get started as well.
Yeah, also Marion got a win this past weekend as well, and so we'll see as they beat St. Xavier by a score of 45-0, and they'll now get ready for the NAIA postseason tournament. They're 10-1, Kevin.
Look at that.
Doing well. All right, anything else you guys want to throw in? I know the Pacers lost one over the weekend. They will be at home tonight to take on the Detroit Pistons. Just tell me that when I woke up Saturday morning or Sunday morning and I didn't just miss it, that there weren't like lingering injuries after 24 hours off or anything like that, Kevin.
Stranger Things night, right? Inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse?
Is that what it is? I didn't even know that.
Have the Pistons really won 12 in a row?
They got a guy
You
named
seen Cade Cunningham jacking shots left and right?
And Cade Cunningham didn't play last week when these teams met, but sounds like he will be in the lineup coming up tonight.
All right, anything else you want to throw in before we head off?
I'm good.
All right, we'll start getting to some of the text line comments in a moment. 239-1070. Colts losing overtime to the Kansas City Chiefs 23-20. Kevin will help us break it down in a moment here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Being efficient on 1st and 10, I thought at times we did that a little bit, but we didn't do it enough in the second half. It wasn't good enough, and it starts with myself. I think we got to be better in all phases, run and pass, moving the football.
Good morning and welcome into a Monday here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan, along with Kevin Bowen and Mark Dykton. I'm Jeff Rickard. James Boyd is still in Kansas City after he was covering for the Athletic. The Colts overtime loss to the Chiefs yesterday, 23-20. A few people here saying, hey, look, it was on the road. Maybe they didn't get the benefit of a couple of officials' calls. All in all, thought that the Colts were better than Kansas City for most of the game. Feel pretty good about it coming out of it. I don't know that I can go quite there, Kevin Bowen. What do you say?
I think I said it last week, if you want to really split hairs here, the bigger game to win would be Sunday. I know that might not be the sexier win per se, beating Kansas City, beating Mahomes, doing it at Arrowhead, like that, that just feels different. But, considering how the AFC South is right now, winning those games are more important. I would say to that point, I think what is concerning in the 2025 picture for me is it's now 3 straight games with legitimate questions about your quarterback. That, to me, is the concerning.
So you're starting to get a little worried about Daniel Jones?
Well, okay, so Shane Steichen got away from Jonathan Taylor. I think we all can agree on that. That is a controllable, is it not? Shane Steichen's got to look in the mirror, but that is a controllable. Shane Steichen can look in the mirror today, and he can say to himself, you know what? I should have given the ball to my star running back a little bit more in the fourth quarter. Again, you can control that. The Daniel Jones thing isn't controllable. You got to have him playing better. That's the unknown. That's the, all right, fourth quarter, game's on the line. And again, you didn't need him to go down there and get your points. You need him to just keep the ball. Let your defense, hit up the oxygen tank for a few minutes there on the sideline. And yet, Shane Steichen called 8 straight pass plays, which, again, that's foolish. But Daniel Jones should have thought to himself, wow, this quite the jolt of confidence my head coach has in me here. I should probably deliver. And he didn't. So that's probably the element I sit here on this Monday of, again, Steichen has had some decisions before. I largely think he's a very good play caller, but at times I think he's gotten away from Taylor. I thought yesterday was one of them. Again, that to me, a little bit more controllable. The Daniel Jones in the clutch, that makes my palms a little sweaty, to quote Mr. Mathers.
Yeah, Crypto Jedi texting in at 239-1070 this morning on the fan text line says 3 things from a pissed off fan. If we got the right call when Downs basically got punched in the face going for that jump ball, we would have won. If Coach Steichen didn't turn his man card in on 4th and 4 and we went for it, we would have won. Please try to use the MVP a little bit more. He says Colts don't make the playoffs. I don't know that I'm all that out on the Colts quite yet. They got a lot of work to do, but I also think they're still a pretty good football team.
Yeah, I guess a couple things there. I thought the officiating was horrific. I thought it was one of the worst called games I've seen in years. Both sides. I thought it was awful.
That crew certainly didn't feel like they were ready for the moment. I mean, it started with that. For a minute, they were going to give a touchdown to the Chiefs late in the first half when a guy is literally half his body falls down out of bounds before he even catches the ball. Before he even catches the ball.
And someone's going to have to, and again, this is probably less than the officiating crew and more on the rule book. Like, what the hell is roughing the passer?
Whatever that you decided it's going to be that day.
I mean, body weight? What are you going to tell Grover Stewart? Start looking like JMV in the afternoons?
Yeah, he didn't do anything. He didn't drive him into the ground.
Like, I think the letter of the law when it comes to the roughing the passer and the body weight penalty is the dumbest thing in the NFL. I get we protect quarterbacks to the nth degree, but that to me is such just an awful penalty. I thought that offensive pass interference on Kelsey late was a very odd call. I just there were lots of calls. I just remember jotting them down like, wow, Colts catch break. Wow, Chiefs catch break. Like, I mean, so many times throughout the game. I thought I read somewhere it was that crew had thrown the most flags all season long coming into the game. So it checks out. As far as the 4th and 4, at that point of the game, your offense wasn't doing anything. I was totally fine with punting it away.
You're hoping your defense can make one stand at that point, maybe get the ball back in decent field goal.
Your special teams is outstanding. And Rigoberto Sanchez and that crew pinned him, inside the 10?
And Badgley made some good kicks yesterday. Nothing long or huge, but I mean, he did what he needed to do.
To me, I look at that and just think, can your defense defend 90 yards against a Chiefs offense that, I still thought yesterday, you really turned Mahomes into check down Charlie for the most part. Which, I mean, again, if you'd have told me at the start of the day, you turn him into that, you literally set your they forced 2 turnovers that directly went to, 10 to 14 points? The Latu interception, you might as well call that a pick 6.
What a great play that was.
Unbelievable. And then the Zaire Franklin strip, saves 3, if not 7?
Yeah. I'll go back to Latu for a second. We forget how, at the size these guys are, we just forget sometimes just how amazingly athletic they are. He doesn't make that play unless he's just got athlete all over him, man.
No, I mean, he bats it with the right hand, and then
twists
he
around
turns
and catches
around
a pirouette.
catch it.
It's like a ballerina out there.
And I thought that was a great recognition of kind of where you were on the field by Lou Anarumo of saying, all right, they're backed up, Kansas City. They're going to want to get the ball out quick. Let's drop my best pass rusher to try and interrupt that rhythm, that quick rhythm. And it looked like Mahomes had Rice, for a little bit of a gain there. And for Latu to make that play. Great play call, great execution.
Yeah.
Well.
Justin texting in says, so once again, a game that was needed because we don't have the guy at quarterback. He won't lose a game, but he surely can't win one. Shane decides with the lead barely to run the football again. And yes, this offensive line that we believe is so great with all these high-paid positions can't open any lanes when it counts. When the competition rises, this team still lacks the grit, I think he was trying to say, to go get it. Because Shane is conservative and plays scared, and you can't kill a giant being conservative. They were never going to win that game because they have Pat Mahomes and we have Daniel Jones. Bottom line, they will regret giving up those 2 draft picks. I don't know, they're 8-3 right now. They've put themselves in position to at least give him a chance to prove himself down the stretch here.
Where are you at, big picture, on number 17?
Where I was probably a month ago. I don't think you all of a sudden rush out to give him a huge contract because you got a lot of difficult games ahead, but I'm still open to him being the guy, but he's got to go take it now. This is why you play, these next 6 games, go take it. Go take the job. Show me you're the guy. I think the jury's still a little bit out on that. Where are you at on him?
Well, I mean, you've made your bed. We know that. I mean, the Colts obviously will have Daniel Jones as their starter in 2026. That's the message they sent when they send 2 first-round picks packing there. I can't tell you how many times I wrote down late in that game, big drive opportunity, and then I see it go 3 and out with a punt. See it goes 3 and out with.
How much is Daniel and how much is the play calling at that point in time too? Because I thought Shane did get really conservative in the 4th quarter.
Well, I mean, conservative. I mean, he threw it a bunch. Do you call that conservative, or do you call that
where were the downfield shots yesterday?
Aggressive. Yeah,
and maybe Kansas City took that away. Again, I got to go back and look at it again.
The one time Jones threw it downfield, seemingly the ball should have been picked off by Kansas City. Again, with Jones in the big picture, so often I come back to this. Okay, what is starting to show up multiple weeks in a row? Positively or negatively. Obviously, early in the year was a ton of positives. He was stringing that.
We didn't take care of the ball for a couple of weeks.
And now I think I think it's fair to say over the last 3 games, you have legitimate quarterback questions. Yesterday, it wasn't so much again, he was fortunate that Chiefs players ran into each other. It wasn't so much the turnover or the sack question. It was more of the effectiveness. Like Shane Steichen told us, I thought I'm trying to think what the game was earlier in the year where he kind of took the ball out of Jones's hands late. Yesterday, he acted like Daniel Jones was Patrick Mahomes with how he gave him the ball in the 4th quarter. I mean, he said, Jonathan Taylor, no. 8 straight passes called with Jonathan Taylor on your football team. That's quite the vote of confidence you're sending to your quarterback.
I didn't like the play calls that he made, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't know if Daniel was missing guys or whatever. Here's the point. When Kansas City is on their drives in the 4th quarter yesterday, it didn't matter if it was Kelsey or Rashee Rice or even Worthy at one point in time. Those guys find a way to just somehow he buys enough time, they get open, they make plays. We talk about this being a deeper receiving crew with Michael Pittman Jr. and been talking great about Alec Pierce, who I still love, and I still like those guys. I really, truly thought yesterday, I know he had 5 catches. I thought Tyler Warren would have been even more involved than he was yesterday. I still think he creates some mismatch problems, and I don't know where I'm struggling. That's why I want to go back and watch it again. Where did that – was it play calling? Was it Daniel Jones? Where did the offense die yesterday?
Yeah, I think you can say both. Again, I thought you got away from Taylor. One of the more confusing sequences I thought was when you got backed up there early in the fourth quarter. It was Taylor ran it on first down, lost 2. You got into that like 2nd and 12, 3rd and 12, like from your own end zone. And Shane Steichen is throwing passes there like you're down 14. I mean, 2nd down, remember that ball gets tipped. Mm-hmm. You could have had a lot-to situation for Kansas City right there. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine up 2 scores, backed up, you're throwing the ball, and not just throwing like a quick hitter or, hey, I'm going to take a 50-50 ball to pierce down the field where it's completion or incompletion. No. It was like a legitimate, like, oh, we're going to, dial up some 5-7 step drop here and have progressions and all of that, and you survived those 2 plays. 2nd down, again, easily could have been picked off the tip. And then 3rd down, boy, Bernard Ryman there in pass protection, I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this can be a safety? Like that to me was not conservative Shane Steichen. That was uber aggressive Shane Steichen. And I didn't understand that whatsoever. And then after that, you continue to get away from Taylor. And, I'll go back to what I said to open up the show, Jeff, and I know you disagreed with me on it, but Jonathan Taylor in the second half is just a different running back. So
I disagree with that. I just thought that.
I mean, this man averages 7.5 yards per carry after halftime this year. 7.5. He's a different player as you continue to pound it, as you continue to give him opportunities. It can be tough sledding. It can be a body blow in round 3 or 4 that might not knock the guy down, but sooner or later, on the ropes, it happens. And maybe that TKO is waiting for you. And maybe the 3rd and 1, 27-yard run was a start of that when Quentin Nelson gets pulling. To me, I thought by taking the ball out of his hands, you let Kansas City off the hook in that manner. And you showed this, not blind faith, but just, I don't know, just weird faith, I guess, in Daniel Jones. I didn't think the Daniel Jones we've seen as of late, and I don't know, was the fibula bothering him? I thought he had a couple awkward little jogs and runs. Maybe I'm overanalyzing his gait here.
Before we go to some of the phone calls, too, along with what you're talking about, whatever you want to say about officiating yesterday, which I'm not going to disagree with necessarily, but the pocket presence that we've seen it a million times, but the pocket presence that Patrick Mahomes has when he's scrambling around back there and things are crashing in, it feels like he's got a plan when he's scrambling, doesn't it? Most of the time, how the way he kind of slides and slide steps and backs up, and all of a sudden, boom, he's got room to make a throw. It's insane how often he does
Eyes
that.
never come down. Never come down. Mark Dykton, how are the Bears 8-3 and the Colts are 8-3? And the Eagles are 8-3.
I know.
How do those 3 teams all have the same record?
That's going to be a hell of a Friday night game for the Bears and Eagles, 8-3 and 8-3. That'll be good. Bears have a very high-powered offense. That seems to be what the stats are. Everything they've thrown at me, I'm like, defensively, this makes no sense. They're on like their 9th linebacker, and that's not even a joke. But they get takeaways, and they're getting a lot of yards and points. That's what's happening. That's how they're getting it.
Takeaways and points. That'll win you a lot of games in the NFL. Let's go to the phone lines.
And starting quarterbacks are not wanting to play them, apparently. They're like, no, I want to sit this one out, Aaron Rodgers. Coward.
239-1070. He faked the broken wrist just to avoid
the wrist was
Bears.
fine when he's flipping everybody off pregame. He's worked just fine.
I need Mark and Aaron Rodgers in a downtown alley, a la Mr. Sanchez.
There would be some knife wounds, I would assume.
Oh, God.
Man. That escalated.
I think he's joking, by the way, for anyone out there that's going to
I hope you did.
Pursue anything on Aaron Rodgers' legal team.
239-1070. Bobby, save us from this insanity. What's going on, my man?
Well, I've said this for many years. You look back at Bill Polian, guards was a dime a dozen with Bill Polian. We turn around and Quentin Nelson's been anointed the greatest left guard in history, and forget about Larry Little and Conrad Dobler and stuff like this, but he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And these guys, for the last 3 weeks, they've been punched in the mouth, and all of a sudden they can't do anything. And yesterday they got punched in the mouth by a very, very good defensive line, and our offensive line looked like they were just completely and totally out of their league. But yet they're one of the highest paid in the industry, and
I mean,
We're
I will
blaming
throw in
Jonathan
that they
Taylor.
ran for 244 yards against the Falcons.
You play how much? What'd you do against Pittsburgh? What'd we do against Kansas City? We didn't do much against either one of them because they got punched in the mouth and they rolled up in a little ball, looked like a little ball, a little bug that rolls up into a ball. They didn't come back with any kind of force. And
So I hear what Bobby's saying. So okay, so then for right now, then that's great to say that, but then where do you go?
I used to love
If that's
rolling those
true.
little roly-poly bugs up, trying to get them in those little small balls there. Yeah, from a run game standpoint, you obviously didn't have a great game yesterday, but again, I go back to getting away from it in the fourth quarter. That's not your blueprint at all. And I'm not, even playing the whole clock game, but even if you want to go with the whole clock game, I thought just a few runs there, A, it could have burned some time, and B, it just could have got your defense to get their hands off the hips for a few seconds there. I mean, you seemingly were just going right back out there. One of the sequences I thought that was really critical was when you actually forced a Kansas City stop there in the fourth quarter, and you got the ball back like right at midfield. I mean, that was a golden opportunity at that point of the game. I think it was about 5 minutes left to either A, you score there and potentially put the game away, or again, B, if you get that drive there, and if you run it a couple times, maybe get a first down, now Kansas City has got to play the clock more. I didn't think you ever made the Chiefs play the clock. And I thought that was a missed opportunity. That was when Daniel Jones threw the pick. Should have been a pick on the 1st and 10. That was, obviously one of the worst throws he's had really all year long. That sequence as well, I think it ended up being 3 straight passes. That one to me was probably one of the more head-scratching ones of the game.
239-1070. Let's go talk to Paul next at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Well, we're trying to figure it all out. Help us.
I can't help you. 4:50 left to go in the game. Kevin just hit on it. I don't know what the heck Daniel Jones was looking at. He forced it to Warren with 3 players on him, and Jonathan Taylor was by himself, nobody around, in the flat. And then on 2nd down, he did it again. He forced it to Warren and almost got a pick 6. I don't understand. This is what I told you, Kevin, after the Pittsburgh game. Shane Steichen got away from Jonathan Taylor in the second half. And you mentioned on it 7.5 yards per carry. I don't know what Shane is thinking to take the ball out of the best player's hand. He ran the ball 15 times, and in the second half, he had that 28-yard run, and it was like Shane said, okay, we've seen enough of him. Let's continue to pass the ball. And I don't get it. The defense played well enough for the coach to win this game, and for the coach to take the ball out of the best player's hand is ridiculous. He did it against Pittsburgh, and now he turns around and does it against the Chiefs. And for the life of me, I don't understand that. I know Daniel Jones is his boy, but he's got to get over that, and you've got to continue to feed the best player on this team. You can't say it's pass the score and run to win the game, and you had the opportunity to win the game, and you take it out of his hand. Kevin, when you and JB go and interview him, you guys got to bring that up. You guys got to ask him, hey, you said the score.
Paul, thank you as always. Safe travels on the mail route here. Yeah, I mean, if the Shane Steichen press conference yesterday, they certainly asked Shane quite a bit. I'll follow up later today. I think Shane, I believe of half the answers he had, he uttered something along the phrase of, I've got to be better. So I think I've made my piece about the Jonathan Taylor thing. I thought it was just abandoning your best player. Again, he is an elite home run hitter that thrives in the second half. And really, he makes guys miss in the backfield so often. Think about overtime, Jeff. They throw it to Ogletree on the first play.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second down play, Taylor's bottled up.
And
but his
4 or 5
individual
yards, right?
effort turns nothing into something. Mm-hmm. That is what he does. And that is my gripe about the second half and the fourth quarter. As you start to establish, again, body blows to an opposing defense, the tackles that maybe were getting to Taylor early in a game, those tackles start to drop off. Those tackles don't prove to be as effective as the game moves along. Sure, there's an element of you obviously have to block it up to a degree, but Taylor has proven. Go back to the overtime against Atlanta. Remember when he made Jesse Bates miss on the game-winning touchdown? Remember when he made Billy Bowman miss in the backfield, turning potentially 2nd and 13 into whatever it was? I think it was nearly a first down. That is what makes Taylor truly special. Seemingly, he has a stamina level that's just different than other guys, and that's why, again, it's probably threefold for me. One, by taking it out of Taylor's hands, you're taking it out of your best player's hands. When you do that, you're putting the ball into Daniel Jones's hands. I don't like that. And then third, clock. Now, not all of them are weighed the same. I'd argue number one, giving the ball to your best player, is weighed the most heavily. But still, all three of those are elements that would have been beneficial to giving the ball to Jonathan Taylor more.
To your point, too, about not just possession, 42 minutes for the Chiefs. Number of plays run, not counting punts or field goals, but just pure offensive plays run. 87 for the Chiefs, 50 for the Colts. It's going to be tough to score more points than your opponent when that's going on, Kevin. It's just going to be tough mathematically. All right, coming up in a moment, we'll talk more about the Colts' loss in overtime to the Chiefs yesterday as we continue on a Monday here. It's 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
JB, and Jeff.
Here's an RPO tipped up into the air, picked up by the Colts at the 5-yard line, and they've got the ball. They tipped it up into the air and intercepted. Latu. It's his third interception this season. Jones out of the gun, ball on the left hash, backs to throw, looking, throws right, caught the goal line, and that's a touchdown for the Colts. Back in to throw is Jones, looking, fires into the end zone, and it's a catch for a touchdown, and it's Drew Ogletree. Ball on the right hash, Jones gives off to Jonathan Taylor on a counter, follows his blocker, first down and more. Over on the right sideline, he is sprinting upfield for a first down, gallops inside the Chiefs half of the field, and Jonathan Taylor with a big explosive run.
Something wicked this way, calm.
Kansas City can get a first down without scoring a touchdown. Now they got 3 people in the backfield with Mahomes. One on either side, and behind him is Kareem Hunt. They give it to Hunt, who jumps over the pile at the goal line, and he's in. Mahomes out of the gun. 3 receivers deployed to the right side. Backs to throw, looking, fires, end zone, caught. Rasheed Rice, 2-point conversion, good. Mahomes in his own end zone, looking to pass. Throws over the middle, run after the catch. 25, 30-yard line, over the far sideline, 40, 45, 50-yard line, and being pushed out of bounds is Rasheed Rice, as he caught a dart over the middle by Patrick Mahomes and used that speed to burn for a big play to the 50-yard line for a gain of 47 yards. Butker with a 25-yard field goal. Snap placement, kick is up, and it is good. And we're going to overtime. Kansas City 0-5 this year in one-score games. Snap placement, kick is up, and it is good for the Chiefs. And they win in walk-off fashion in overtime.
Didn't execute in some key situations. Got to do a better job, I think, overall in our execution. And tough to have a stretch like that towards the end of the game.
I felt there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to get called that I felt good about in the past game. And we just weren't efficient doing it. And it starts with me. Being efficient on 1st and 10, at times we did that a little bit, but we didn't do it enough in the second half. It wasn't good enough. And it starts with myself. I think we got to be better in all phases. Run and pass, moving the football.
Not going to argue with him there, Kevin Bowen. Good morning and welcome into a Monday. It's not a victory Monday, 23-20, an overtime loss, as you heard Matt Taylor describe there to the Kansas City Chiefs. And where do we count the ways that this loss started to add up, Kevin Bowen? If you had to pick the top 3 things that you thought really affected the outcome of this game, what would they be?
Yeah, definitely getting away from number 28. I would say the play of Daniel Jones, in particular that fourth quarter. I think it drops off rather significantly after that, but I know we've gotten coworker Todd's fired up a little bit here on this Monday morning about
firing texts left and right this morning
about the defense. You guys got big gripes with the defense?
Only giving up the 90-yard drive at the end.
I think they held Mahomes and company in check as best they could, and then you start seeing Mahomes even they were getting frustrated with everything, and then all of a sudden, even from the back of that end zone, he hits Rasheed Rice for that big catch, and you're just kind of like, uh-oh.
Here we go again.
Here we go. Mm-hmm. They're starting to feel it all of a sudden. It was just like that one play, and all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, I'm Patrick Mahomes. I think I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, they turned Mahomes largely into check down Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City was 1 of 6 in the red zone. That is horrific. Latu's interception directly leads to 7 points. The Franklin fumble takes away, 3 or 7 off the board there? I can't really blame the defense too much, but then there is part of me, to Jeff's point, that's like, damn, 90-yard drive when the game's on the line. Yeah, but
I will say this.
Look at the complimentary football. I mean, look what the offense was forcing them to do. And if you would have told me on Friday morning at 8:04 in the morning, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for the most passing yards he's had in a game in 35 games on Sunday, I would have said to you, wait, what?
You'd be like, it's 50-17.
Sauce Gardner, Mooney Ward, Kenny Moore, Nick Cross, Cam Bynum, they gave up that?
Gave up 352. They gave up 140. What?
But I watched the game.
141 to Rice. Yeah.
But I watched the game, and I don't necessarily feel like that upset about it, even though
except in the fourth quarter they got every first down they needed to get.
I know, but yeah, again, I mean, did their offense help them out at all?
No.
I'm very torn, clearly on this. And one thing I'm frustrated by, and maybe the rush plan against Patrick Mahomes is meant this way. It just seems like when Kwity Paye's rushing, it's just engage into the offensive tackle and the play's over. It's just and that I feel like has been kind of his MO for 4 or 5 years.
He just doesn't win. Doesn't win his battle.
Doesn't win at all. Yeah.
Let's go talk to Joe at 239-1070 this morning. We'll open up the phone lines for a while. We'll try to keep these as quick as we can so we get as many folks as possible. Joe, go ahead. You're first up. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. So this probably won't be a real popular take, but, I feel like they were stacking the box. Jonathan Taylor was only averaging 2.7 a carry if you take that 27-yarder away. And I think that they were dialing up a lot of passes, and we weren't executing. You guys mentioned the throwing into triple coverage, almost getting intercepted. That's just a bad read. Pittman dropping a ball for about 8 yards in the flat there. It's just I feel like we didn't execute. And I don't blame him for calling pass plays. When they're putting 8, 9 dudes in the box, you can only block so many of them. So you have to execute. And the other piece of it is I feel like my expectation of our defensive backfield was a little too high because I really thought Lou was going to dial up some crazy blitz and get pressure. And I didn't feel, we blitzed a little bit, but I didn't feel like we were trying to do anything crazy. I thought we'd be able to lock them down a little better than what we did. But I agree we probably should try to run the ball more, but it's a numbers thing. If you have 6 guys to block and they're bringing 8, there's 2 guys unblocked, and that's why they were trying to throw the ball, in my opinion.
Thanks for the thoughts. I appreciate that. Kevin? It's hard to argue with a lot of what he said.
For an hour, I have explained what I feel like about Jonathan Taylor. Your thoughts, Jeff?
Jonathan Taylor's the guy that's going to win you or lose you the game. And I don't know. I guess when I talk about play calling yesterday, I didn't see for as creative as Shane likes to get. All right, so maybe it's a little tough sledding for Jonathan Taylor right now. What can we do to maybe get him into situations where he's one-on-one with guys, whether it's out in the flat, whether it's dialing up something that's a little bit out of the ordinary for what we usually like to do, because their offensive line was not winning the battles yesterday.
Yeah, again, 8 straight pass plays for me. I understand at times, sure, it can be a little bit of a numbers game, but what has Jonathan Taylor proven throughout the course of this season? An ability to turn what looks like nothing into something.
And we saw that a couple of times in the fourth quarter yesterday.
Special. And Joe says, well, take away the 27-yard run. Well, you can't do that. That's part of Taylor. Again, the body blow analogy, the boxing analogy of, what maybe is not necessarily connecting or you feel the exact effects of it in round 2, round 3, round 4, it builds up. Go back to the overtime run where 2nd and 6, it looks like he's stoned. He turns that into a little bit more. That's what makes him special. If you give him those opportunities to do that, then all of a sudden the potential there is for something greater. And all the stats back that up from what Taylor's done in second halves in the fourth quarter. Again, Joe says take out the 27-yard run. If you want to take out his 83-yarder in Germany, he still averages 6 yards per carry in the fourth quarter this season. We're taking away an 83-yard run, and he's still averaging 6.3 yards per carry in the fourth quarter. He is a special talent. And to me, when you are opting for the ball in the hands of Daniel Jones and he's throwing the ball to the other team, and or you're backed up on your own goal line under siege and a ball's tipped up in the air, easily could have been picked off, that to me is not the alternative that should be there. Am I saying does Taylor need all 8 of those plays to be run with him? No. But when you have a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter of a football game, away from your home, I don't think Jonathan Taylor should be touching the ball, twice in the fourth quarter? 3 times?
He had 18 total touches in that game yesterday.
At that point in the fourth quarter, with what you had the score at, you should be trying to kill that clock as much as possible. You want to bleed it out so Mahomes and company have little to no time to make a comeback like they did.
And I'm not usually pure clock eating guy, Mark. There are some people out there. It's you do anything to bleed the clock. To me, it goes back to the 3-prong sort of reasons. First off, Jonathan Taylor's your best football player. That's reason number 1. 2, the alternative is Daniel Jones in the clutch. No, thank you. No. And then 3 is the clock. Yes, there is an element of that. In particular, that series they started at midfield with about 5 minutes to go. That was when you threw the near pick, to Warren. I thought that was a sequence right there where if you are able to even just run the clock there, you potentially get to the point where now Kansas City has to respect the clock a little bit late in the game. I don't think the Chiefs ever got to a point in that fourth quarter where they had to adhere to the clock. It's very rare in an NFL game for a team down 2 scores in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs turned the ball over in the fourth quarter. The Colts did not turn the ball over. Kansas City didn't create some 70-yard touchdown out of the blue. it's very rare for them not to have to pay attention to the clock one time. And they didn't. I mean, they just methodically moved down the field. Obviously, they had the big play to Rice, but just, we're good.
You would have thought it was the opening drive of the game.
Seriously.
It was nonchalant.
Remember at the end of the regulation, it was one of those awkward things. It's like, wait, are the Colts going to let them score here? It was very like,
before we get
Jermaine Pratt makes the big play in the backfield. It's like, wait, what was that the best thing for the Colts? Should it have been here? And obviously, they end up making the plays on second and third down and send the game into overtime. But yeah, it got a little chickeny almost inside the 10-yard line there.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, too. No, we haven't even talked about it or mentioned it once, and this often is the case. Kansas City had a terrific 2-point play. If they stopped that 2-point play, we might have had a different game yesterday, Kevin. I mean, it was the drive, capped off with the touchdown, and then cemented with the 2-point play. I don't know about you, but I started to get really nervous when it was 20-17 all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think, when Hunt fumbled, I thought, oh boy, I think this could be over. But again, the Colts very quickly did nothing with it there. By the way, shout out to Drew Ogletree. That was a hell of a catch in the back of the end zone.
That was a nice throw, too.
It's like the freshman version of the Omar Cooper Jr. catch.
Let's go to the phone lines again, 239-1070 again. We'll talk to the first of two Tracys. Tracy number one, go ahead.
Hey, man. I agree with what Kevin said. They should have fed the ball to Taylor more in second half. They had that lead, and there was no reason to piss off that lead without giving the ball to the guy that's supposed to be your man. He's supposed to be the guy that got you there. Quarterback play is fine, but you do not throw 8 passes in a row when you got Jonathan Taylor back there with a back in front of him. Put a back in front of him. If they're putting 8 in the block, put somebody in front of him, and he will spring one. If not, he will get you 4 or 5 yards so you can keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. Because once you start giving that guy a little bit of life and he's running around back there, the coach just pissed that game off. They had no reason to lose that game, just like they had no reason to lose the LA game. But they stole one from Denver. They 8-3. They'll close it out. If they win against these division opponents the next 4 weeks out of 6 that's coming up, the Colts will be all right, but I don't like their chances in the playoffs if they don't have no killer mentality.
Tracy, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the call. Appreciate that. I'm nodding my head at pretty much everything that was said right there. We're trying to keep these calls moving a little bit here on this Monday morning. Do you guys think Daniel Jones was hurt?
It was hard to tell. I know I can see where you were thinking about that, and that might be true. That maybe that
should we give him the injury
shin or whatever it was. No, because he had opportunities. He still had plenty of opportunities.
And then he had a clean jersey. Wasn't sacked the whole time. So, I mean, it's not like he was running for his life and under siege or anything like that. So, I mean, you take that into account a little bit, just the way his mobility might have been, hampered a little bit. But no, I didn't really think about it until I was hearing post-game questions about it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm turning into evaluating Miles Turner coming out of Texas. Well, his gait was a little odd. I mean, I did think there were a couple of moments I'm like, boy, that doesn't look like necessarily what I'm used to from him. And then he had a scrambler too, where I'm like, oh, he looked just fine. So for those that missed on Friday, it was not a calf injury. After further examination, they deemed it fibula injury. He ended up taking all the full starting reps on Friday. So, again, you obviously see quarterbacks play much more hindered than this. Well, one point that I think Tracy was, hitting on a little bit there, but this loss does hurt your number 1 seed pursuit. And I get in the immediate aftermath of it, hey, let's just worry about winning the AFC South and all that. But, New England was able to pull that out yesterday and beating Joe Flacco and company. So they now move to 10-2 on the year. Denver comes back from the bye week this week, and the Colts are now at 8-3. So obviously, I think with how the playoff picture looks, AFC South is the major order of business when you're only a game up. But yesterday's loss, also in conference, hurts your pursuit of a number 1 seed.
Let's go talk to James next. 239-1070. Good Monday morning, James. What'd you think yesterday?
A WWE game was less scripted than yesterday. I've seen in all week, Vegas kept saying that the Chiefs have 10% chance of being the Super Bowl. There's so much. They're 5-5. I was like, what's going on, right? And then yesterday, I knew it was over 14-9 second quarter when they threw on 3rd and 1. And then you throw Jonathan Taylor, layer in, and do a power game, which is what the weakness of Kansas City is. He gets 26 yards, and then they go away from it the whole game. And you have an owner, remember, an owner who's under the headset that's like a fan that would have said, hey, guys, no, we're not doing that. That's what we're supposed to expect from her, that we've heard before, that she can step in and say stuff like that. It was scripted. Indianapolis is top 5 against the rush defense. Kareem Hunt didn't have any
Mark, you gonna take that? I believe
times.
he started off with WWE was scripted. You just gonna sit there?
Look, I understand what you're saying. First of all, I don't think Carly has a microphone on that headset, does she? I don't think she can talk back during the games.
She's the owner. She
could probably do whatever she wants.
Whatever she wants.
I don't think she is making decisions on play in and play out calls, would be my thought.
WWE scripted. It's very good television, but
I
it's
thought you
scripted
had
like
more
everybody else.
I thought you had a better PR word for it than scripted.
It's predetermined.
Oh, look at that.
That's what it is.
Eloquently predetermined.
The athleticism is still there. The athleticism is still real, but it's predetermined.
Aesthetically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Predetermined.
It's more real than the Housewives.
Man, I thought the officiating just stunk yesterday.
Top
I
to
thought
bottom,
it was
both
both
sides,
ways.
yeah.
I'm just done with the roughing the passer penalty. I think it's so soft. And I'm going to be honest, and I'm probably in the minority on it. Mooney, I guess, said that he got hit in the chest after the game on that blindside hit.
That's what it looked like. He was pointing.
It was more of
to
a
it,
chest thing. And again, James Ward will join us here coming up at 9. But, is that really a blindside block?
By the letter of the rule, I thought Startoy did a really nice job explaining it.
Well, then change the letter.
You can't go backwards towards you can't block back towards the line of scrimmage.
I thought that was kind of weak as well. But the roughing the passer is egregious. The fact that you have to have, again, Grover Stewart needing to, look like JMV in the afternoons to all of a sudden not be whistled for that flag is just an absolute joke.
I'm not going to argue with that. There are a lot of people that are on the text line thinking that the fix was in yesterday. Although Jimmy says, do we need to put Daniel under center more? I just don't think the RPO is working.
Well, was he hurt? Did that contribute to the under center? Would you have liked for them to QB sneak it there in overtime? 3rd and 1?
It's worked in the past.
Yeah, that's where I did have a little bit of a fibula question.
Corbin says, let's bury this Colts game. What about that Notre Dame game, KB? Or how about the Boilers throwing the hammer down on the number 15 team, Texas Tech? That's what he wants to hear about. You don't want to hear about Colts depression today.
I told you, I think Jeremiah Love should win Heisman. Purdue outstanding on Friday night. That was clinical. And again, the fact that they do it and they don't need Trey Kaufman-Wren to be first-team All-American or Braden Smith to be first-team All-American to do what they did to Texas Tech. I thought Lawyer and Cox were great. I think Lawyer won MVP. I thought Cox deserved, big-time notion for it as well. So, typical Purdue. This is what they do. They go on these neutral floors early in the season. They absolutely prove themselves, as one of the best teams in the land, and then it pays off when seeding rolls around in the month of March. And great work by Butler as well. I know it's a little bit of a different bar, certainly, but Butler going to Greenbrier. South Carolina, I know, is not picked very high in the SEC, but Virginia, that should be a quad 1 win when the tournament rolls around. That is vital because I don't think the Big East, I think the Big East is 2 teams and everybody else. So really important there for Butler.
I like it. Last thing before we get to the check down here, Jeff with a J points out kind of what we've been talking about this morning. Jonathan Taylor had a total of 7 rush attempts in the second half of that game. 6 in the third quarter, 1 rush in the fourth quarter.
Well, and if you look at it as well, we've talked a lot about these 4 straight 3-and-outs to end the game. And again, Jones throws it, I think, 8 in a row at one point there, 8 straight pass plays. If you go back to the 27-yard run on 3rd and 1, that drive ended in a Badgley field goal. You could even say, it's a little nitpicky, but you could even say you got away from Taylor a little bit after that. If you look how the game unfolded the rest of the way. There's almost, I think, given Taylor's pedigree as a second half, fourth quarter guy, I'm kind of curious, like, do you sit there as a staff before the game and say, Jonathan Taylor needs X amount of touches? I would argue, given how he is as a player, and score can impact this at times, but I would argue he needs X amount of second half touches because he's proven to be that type of guy to where everything can be bottled up. Again, go to those arm tackles. Watch his run in overtime on 2nd and 6. The tackles that seemingly can get him on the ground a little bit earlier in the game, those don't prove to be as effective as you get deeper into the fourth quarter, deeper into now overtime here. So, to me, I think as a play caller for Shane Steichen, it's almost like, hey, whatever. We need Taylor getting 10 touches after halftime of every game because he's proven to be that type of guy.
All right, let's quickly check it down here. We got Kyle Neddenriep coming up in just a few moments here as we continue to talk about football all over the place. Here's your AFC South rundown from the weekend. The Colts lose in overtime in Kansas City, 23-20. We've been talking about that all day long. Jonathan Taylor just 16 carries in the game for 58 yards. And just the amount of time that Kansas City had the football. I still go back to that, Kevin. 42 minutes time of possession. When you're on the road playing against Patrick Mahomes, that can't be a good thing.
No, not at all. Your defense clearly gassed. I also didn't love just 2 targets for Alec Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has earned the right to be dialed up quite a few times as well.
All right, the rest of the AFC South on Thursday night, of course, the Texans played great defense. They beat the Bills 23-19. We also saw the Tennessee Titans losing again at home to the Seattle Seahawks. 30-24 was the final score on that one. And Jacksonville got a win over the Arizona Cardinals, 27-24. They are somehow 7-4, Kevin Bowen.
I can't explain it. I can't explain it all. Jahmyr Gibbs ran away from everybody in overtime. Mark, what else did I miss around the NFL? Baker Mayfield got
Jameis
hurt.
Winston caught a touchdown pass.
Yeah, that Jameis highlight was electric. We need to clone Jameis. Somehow every NFL season needs to have a Jameis Winston.
Did you see his pregame speech?
Something about we're not outside, we're inside?
Yeah. We got to play like we're outside even though we're inside. Play outside like you're inside.
He got me off the couch as soon as I heard that.
I'll run through a brick wall for that, man.
All right, that's what's happening in the National Football League. Of course, later on tonight, Monday Night Football, San Francisco will be hosting the Carolina Panthers. College basketball as of games on Sunday. Butler gets the win over Virginia, 80-73. Kevin made mention of that a moment ago. IU Indy losing at Air Force, 98-85. College basketball this afternoon, Kevin. Notre Dame taking on number 24 Kansas. This is a terrific opportunity in Las Vegas for the Fighting Irish to get a nice preseason win.
Massive. We need it.
Yeah. The college football coming up later on this weekend. Of course, number 2 Indiana will play at Ross-Ade Stadium against the Purdue Boilermakers, and number 9 Notre Dame will take on Stanford on the road. You ready for that one all fired up already?
I cannot believe it's a 10:30 kick. What the hell are we doing? I thought Notre Dame had clout when it came to TV kick times.
Playoffs all over the place. Indianapolis will be playing Minnesota State in Division II. In Division III, Hanover goes up against North Central Illinois. DePauw will take on UW Whitewater, and Marion in the NAIA will also be playing a playoff game. Haven't seen yet who they may have a bye in their first round of the NAIA there. We can also tell you that Indianapolis in the Division II playoffs, they advanced there because they beat Truman State 57-14. I just wanted to mention that one. Pacers play at home tonight against the Detroit Pistons. I don't think we suffered any more injuries over the weekend, did we?
So no Stranger Things jerseys tonight, but there will be a Stranger Things theme to the game inside a game.
I don't know what that means. What's that mean exactly?
I'm sure. I don't know. Music, graphics. I don't know. That's above my pay grade there.
All right.
But yeah, I thought the Big Three was great on Friday, and no other help against the Cavs. And the Big Three being Nembhard, I think a career high for Andrew Nembhard on Friday night. Siakam and Mathurin, and then nobody else. So 9-point underdog to a Detroit Pistons team that has won 12 in a row.
Maybe they need some Stranger Things to turn it all around tonight.
11 guarding Cade Cunningham, maybe?
Yeah. All right, coming up in a minute, we'll take a look at what was a very busy week of semi-state high school football games, getting us ready to go for 3 state championship games on Friday, 3 on Saturday. Kyle Neddenriep stops by to talk about all of that next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Well, one thing I'll tell you, Kevin, about Friday night in high school football, everybody was playing in rain this past Friday night. They'll at least all be able to, those who advance will be able to move indoors to Lucas Oil Stadium for Friday and Saturday night's games. But it was sloppy, ugly, wet, and we do have our championship game set in stone now. We'll tell you all about those in a second, but right now we welcome in Kyle Neddenrip, who is our high school expert, one of them, from the Indy Star. He joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline. Hope you had a nice dry place to watch all these games from while everybody else was cold and wet playing those games, Kyle.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad. The game Friday was a little bit rainy in the first half. I guess it kind of rained the whole game, but not. It wasn't windy and cold and raining sideways or anything. It was just kind of a little bit of an annoyance, but not nothing that affected the game too much. Saturday was great. It was the Cascade game was a little cold, but clear. Great atmosphere and an awesome game.
Kyle, could you paint a little bit more color to Saturday night? I know you had a couple pictures of that scene off US 40. It just looked like an awesome atmosphere for Cascade. I believe it's them and Brownstown Central, I think, is our only first-time appearancers coming up at Lucas Oil Stadium. Looked like quite the environment Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, I compared it to the last scene of Field of Dreams when you pan out and it shows all the cars driving up to the illuminated baseball field in the cornfield. It kind of, I think if you had a drone and you kind of pulled back, it was somewhat similar because there was cars parked along the county roads there, and I was one of them, and I'm not complaining at all because it was awesome to have that walk up to the stadium and then see the field before you and the mass of humanity from both sides, Cascade and Gibson Southern. There was 4,100 people there to watch that game, and what an atmosphere. And Gibson Southern, to their credit, they travel really well. We knew that from previous experiences with that program, and a few years ago they came up to Tri-West, and it was kind of a very similar showing by them, but. Unfortunately, their quarterback, Zach Foster, missed the game. He broke his leg last week. He's a big part of what they do. And talked to Nick Hart after the game about that, the Gibson Southern coach. And, he was very careful with what he said because his backup is really good. He's a junior kid who's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the state next year. But to make your first start in that sort of game is really tough. And Cascade is really good. I'm not saying they may have won the game anyway, but – that Cascade program, to come where, it's just a program hasn't had a ton of success, intermittent success, I would say, over the years. And now to get here, you can really sense like this school and community is really enjoying this run. And you kind of culminated on Saturday. It just felt like a big party out there after the game.
The legend that is Kyle Neddenrip, he's with us here. Payless Liquors hotline again. Odd classes Friday, 11 a.m. start time. Even classes coming up on Saturday from Lucas Oil Stadium. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Miles McLaughlin here. His season comes to an end. His pursuit of Derrick Henry's record comes to an end, held to 73 yards by Bishop Lures. I know you weren't there, Kyle. A, what did you kind of gather from, I think Dana Benbow represented you guys up there from the Star, and then B, what are the college plans at this point for Miles?
Well, he's got an offer from Ball State. He's got some other, programs at that level that have kind of been around him, recruiting him, in teams that are schools that are probably a little bit lower on the scale, I would say, than that as far as, level of college goes. So, we'll see. I think there's a chance for him to, commit to one of the, obviously the signing day is coming up here before about 2 weeks here. So we're not too far away, maybe not even quite 2 weeks, but there's going to be a chance, I think, for him to go, somewhere around that level, I would say. And I know he's had some other visits. South Dakota, he visited. Valparaiso had offered him previously. So, he's got some offers out there. I mean, the story itself, and I kind of wrote about this a little bit today, and I hate to, there's probably a minority of people, largely anonymous trolls, who sort of seem to revel in, him losing, for whatever reason, or kind of, diminishing the achievements because of their schedule or whatever the case may be, and kind of address that a little bit. I feel like, I think the large majority of people are very, happy for him, and he's a super kid. From all I don't know him that well, but I went up there and did a story about him earlier this year, and he's a kid from Knox who had a great run, and put Knox on the. I don't think many people knew Knox existed, before he did all this. So that's pretty cool. I think he'll be a name people remember 20 years from now, for what he did, and setting that all-time record in the state, setting the national single-season record, the touchdown record. So there's a lot of things he did accomplish, even though he didn't get Derrick Henry's record. And it would have been cool to see them play this week. But, Lures is definitely, people who follow it know Lures is, their record is not, it's basically irrelevant every year because they play such a tough schedule. And they had real talent on that defensive line and throughout their defense and their offense, really. So, I think Knox just probably got outmanned. Having not seen the game, it sounded that way. I mean, they kind of got handled a little bit, and that happens, sometimes. So, doesn't diminish what he accomplished throughout his career. And I think the real testament to him, like he never got injured, and he carried the ball so many times that I think that's the thing that's most impressive is just, he was able to just keep in the game, and he didn't miss time. And when you put up numbers like that, that almost has to be the case because, it's breaking Spiegel's record. I never thought that would happen just because of the consistency and, it's hard to play every week in football. So I think that's a credit, to everything else. I mean, I think that's a credit just to his, stability to be able to do that at week in and week out.
Kyle Neddenriep joining us from the Indy Star, talking about high school football, state high school championships coming up Friday and Saturday. Of course, the big one, 6A, Brownsburg, going to be taking on Westfield. How do you challenge Brownsburg? I mean, they cruised past Warren Central. I know Westfield's had a nice run through the playoffs here, but how do they best prepare for a game against Brownsburg?
Yeah, I mean, they played them, it was probably their toughest game, or definitely was their toughest game, during the season. It was 14-10. Brownsburg, you look at the stats, they still had good numbers in that game offensively. And Westfield is, they know each other really well, obviously being in the same conference and playing each other last year in the state title game. So I expect this to be a close game. I don't sense that, it's going to be a runaway. I think the thing with Brownsburg that makes them better this year maybe is just that they can just line up and run the ball, and their offensive line and tight ends are really good blockers, and they have three good running backs that, you can kind of rotate them in. A.J. Job has got the majority here lately, but, Brady Lewis and Kovon Sumter Bay are very good running backs as well. So they can spring those guys at you at any time too. And that's, without saying their passing game's excellent with Oscar Fry and Brandon Sharp and Avon Robinson and those guys. So, you can't really key on the pass too much because they're going to just take, they're going to take the run game and shove it down your throat a lot of time. Now Westfield knows that, and Westfield will be ready for that. And I think, they're gonna make Brownsburg punt and try to limit the big plays and try to make this. I think for Westfield's side, try to make this more of a similar type game than that the regular season was. That was more of a low scoring game, and try to control the ball on them. So it is interesting. Westfield's got a 2-quarterback system this year that is similar to what Brownsburg did last year. So, that's sort of an intriguing part of this game too.
Looking forward to it. And real quickly, just a few seconds on Roncalli. They're in the state championship. They're going to be taking on Fort Wayne Bishop Dwenger. They've had a terrific season. Can they finish this off?
Yeah, they're getting better and better throughout the year, and their quarterback Colin Ash has had an outstanding year. They're the team, I think, with Roncalli you think of run, and they can throw it this year. They're a multi-dimensional offense that, and then always very good defensively. What they did to Heritage Hills was impressive. I mean, that 42-14 win, very impressive. And this Dwenger team defensively, this game was 3-0 in the first game of the year. So this may be a defensive struggle. I think Roncalli's a better team now than they were then, and Dwenger I'm sure is too. So it should be a fun one. Two old rivals going at it there in Class 4A.
All right, we'll see you at the stadium this weekend, man. Have fun.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Always good to talk to Kyle Neddenriep. Knows a thing or two about high school sports here in the area.
I don't use the word legend lightly. He is an absolute legend.
Always good to hear from him. All right, coming up in a minute, we'll talk more about what we learned from the Colts and Week 12 in the NFL. But first, this time out. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Your fibula injury that landed you on the injury report on Thursday, are you feeling like you're less than 100%? I know you ran off a couple good runs, I think one the first half, one the second half. Couldn't tell on some of those if you were less than 100% speed-wise or trying to let up and not go full throttle there. What you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good enough to play and feel good out there.
It's Monday morning here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Help me out on that, Mark. Who was talking there?
Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones talking about his fibula. They were saying, did you let up at all or anything like that? He's like, no, I felt good. I ran a little bit and everything like that. So he's a little coy on the fibula injury that suddenly popped up on last week's injury report.
I don't know, Kevin, you've gone back and forth on this. You think that affected him at all yesterday?
There were some moments I was like, oh boy, that gait doesn't look normal Daniel Jones. He also had, I thought, an effective scramble or two there. I don't know. He was full in practice on Friday. Quarterbacks play through a lot. Yeah, I don't know. He now has played every snap through the first, 12 games of the season? Every meaningful snap. He has not missed a snap due to injury and or poor play yet this season. First time in his career he's reached this point of the season and done that there. So, I don't know. I don't think I can go full injury there, but maybe that was something that played into 3rd and 1 in overtime. Daniel Jones not being under center. Yeah, that's kind of a point in the game where you might just go QB sneak. Try to extend that opening possession there. You guys have an issue with the Colts taking the ball to start overtime?
You can make the argument both ways. My biggest problem was the offense hadn't done anything at all. I would have liked to have given the defense a chance to at least make one stop, maybe get the ball back and have a chance to then win the game with just a field goal.
Not worried about the defense being tired after the 15-play, 90-yard drive?
You can make, like I said, you can make the case either way. I personally would have liked to have gotten the ball second yesterday.
I would have preferred the defense had a chance first just because I know they had a long drive right there, but for the most part, you held Patrick Mahomes and company in check offensively, and if you could hold them to even a field goal or a punt, at least you're giving your team then a chance to walk it off once the offense gets out there, and hopefully Shane Steichen could dial something up that included Jonathan Taylor a little bit.
I think Steichen's thought there, just to kind of put a little explanation and hit into his shoes there, I think his thought is with a 10-minute overtime, there is the thought of there could be a third possession.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously the Colts punted. Didn't Kansas City have a 3rd and 7 kind of early in that overtime drive? I'm trying to think. Xavier Worthy on 3rd and 7. Does that sound right? Huge play over the middle of the field, if I'm remembering correctly. If Kansas City doesn't pick that up, then they probably punt back to you. So, if there is a third possession, I think the thought there is the team that possesses it first would have had that.
All right, we'll talk more about this. James Boyd was in Kansas City. He's going to join us coming up in about 10 minutes from now. In the meantime, the best and the worst, most confusing of the weekend.
Who is the GOAT?
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Jordan, here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good!
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Or GOAT?
This guy sucks.
Of the week.
There you go. Best and worst of the weekend. Go ahead, Mark Dighton. We'll let you lead it off today. You want to go bad or good GOAT to start things off?
Well, the Colts lost, so I feel like we have to go bad, and that'll be very easy for me to do. It is Aaron Rodgers, because all this lead up.
Will you be original for once?
No. I hate that man.
You find a way to do this 48 of the 52 weeks.
No.
Didn't you guys win?
We did win, but I also thought it was just, he's trying to glaze the Bears. Oh, we don't have a rivalry anymore, and this and that and stuff. And then he's coming out pregame, and he's apparently shocked that there are video cameras out on the field and all that taking video of him. So he's giving the bird to everybody. I'm like, well, that wrist looks pretty good. And then 20 minutes later goes by, and like, oh, Aaron Rodgers is out, actually. It's going to be Mason Rudolph. Oh, okay. Like, Mason Rudolph, I feel like, made that game a better game than Aaron Rodgers would have, because I don't think his wrist and old ass could throw it that far very much.
The Bears are 8-3. That's what you should
They're
be talking
8-3.
about.
I wanted Aaron Rodgers. It was.
What is Aaron Rodgers' all-time record against the Bears?
Doesn't matter.
No, I'm just curious.
That was in the Packers days.
20,
old times.
25-5.
Okay.
Kevin.
Big deal. He didn't play yesterday. pissed in my cornflakes in the morning when I saw that he was out.
Today, tomorrow, Wednesday, it used to be one of my favorite 3-day sporting events of the entire year. I seem to recall many Black Wednesdays where JMV will be coming up Wednesday night at Brothers and Broad Ripple. Looking up, seeing the Lays in the crowd, and watching the beautiful Maui tournament. And now the Maui tournament, it exists, but it is slowly, slowly dying. For those unfamiliar with how these, non-conference MTEs, like they call them, work, now it's how much NIL money is up for grabs. Notre Dame is a part of a huge field in Vegas, massive NIL money here. And I hate that Maui is feeling the brunt of it. There's just one ranked team in this year's field. And when you think about what that tournament has held for the Indiana teams, Rodney Clark game winner for Butler. Purdue won in Honolulu because of the fires, unfortunately, a couple years ago. Ball State, you go back probably 20-plus years right now. Patrick Jackson, Theron Smith, and that Ball State team executing some unbelievable upsets. I just think it stinks. I always love that gym, the Lahaina Civic Center, and for Maui not to have the same sort of field that it usually does, and it sounds like this is only going to be the norm here moving forward. Everything is about money, money, money. Find me the NIL tournament for our teams. I get it. I get why college teams are doing it. I hate it, though.
I don't disagree. Here's another thing I hate so much about all of this right now, and it's just him. I'm going to throw him out, but it's really the entire system, the way it works. I am so over Lane Kiffin, and I am so over, hey, we'll tell you what his future is going to be. How fair is that to your players at Ole Miss that you got to wait 8 days to find out whether or not your head coach is going to be your head coach moving forward at the end of this season or not? How'd you feel about that, Kev, when over the weekend Ole Miss comes out and they says, well, we're going to let you know after the final game next Saturday what our decision and his decision is on whether or not he continues on at Ole Miss? What are we doing here?
My positive goat of the weekend, Mark Dykton, you and I are on the same wavelength. Will you dial up the audio?
Stanford's general manager and Andrew Luck, we were talking a little bit about how important this rivalry is. For you, being able to be a part of it, how meaningful is it?
It's huge. It was great to be as a player and now be as a GM and watch these guys. I'm going to watch here for a second. Oh, ball! Go, Jay, go! Go, Jay! Go!
We just talked about this rivalry. To see that play just now, describe the emotion.
Hard to say. It's a hell of a job by Omar and Jay Green. It's good. Let's get it going now, all right? Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, man, I love me some Andrew Luck. That was outstanding. The GM of Stanford interviewed mid-game, Stanford and Cal, obviously a huge rivalry, and Mark, the body language. He is doing the most respectful, half-assed interview he could do. He's looking over his shoulder the whole time at the play. We all have been there, right?
Yeah.
I hate to say it, Thursday, you'll probably have some interactions with your family, right? Looking over at the old TV here, and you yell ball. Is there anything more, relatable than him yelling ball?
He was nodding along. Yes, I'm listening to your question. Then you got the Andrew Luck bald spot as he's staring at the field, watching the play happen.
Oh, so
good. And then running down the field.
Running down
screaming.
the field, and then the polite, I appreciate it, but it's time for me to go celebrate with my team. Loved that from Andrew Luck, and now I'm nervous about Stanford and Notre Dame on Saturday night because Andrew Luck hates Notre Dame. Shout out to Frank Wright. They got it done there in the old Axe. Mark, I know I stole your good. Did you have anything else?
I had another one. Yeah, it was just the Rams and Matthew Stafford are the best team in football. I know the Patriots have the best record win-wise, but at the moment, top to bottom, the Rams scare me. Stafford, 30 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, and that Rams defense is ferocious. Baker Mayfield, I thought was going to get carried out on a stretcher yesterday because he was under siege. Teddy Bridgewater was under siege. The Rams are amazing.
I think of a healthy favorite for MVP, too.
Yeah.
Drake May, kind of rough yesterday. Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, he's looking terrific. There's so many different ways you can go. But we talked about it a little earlier, whether he's making some nonsensical statement that just makes you laugh as he's trying to make an analogy that doesn't quite work or a malapropism, whatever it is, Jameis Winston is completely entertaining. And if you just look at the game that he played yesterday against the Lions, Kevin, it was the most Jameis Winston game ever. He was only 18 for 36. He had 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. He threw for 366 yards. But, Mark, that wasn't even his best play of the game yesterday.
No, that would be the catch he had for the touchdown.
How about a break in the tackle?
I know, the juke move.
Little spin and everything, get himself twisted and turned loose and scored the touchdown. So I'm going to go Jameis Winston for my goat of the week yesterday.
I love Jameis Winston. That pregame speech, I need to tell that to the children. Let me go see Santa in a few weeks.
All right.
Pretend like we're outside, but we're inside.
I think I understood it.
Yeah.
It took me a little while there. I might have had him repeated if I had been Tyrone Tracy Jr. in the circle.
He's the one guy that his entire team is like, what did he just say? But they're fired up and ready to go anyway, man. All right, coming up next, James Boyd joins us from Kansas City, where the Colts lost in overtime yesterday, 23-20. We'll do it next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
JB and Jeff.
Here's an RPO tipped up into the air, picked up by the Colts at the 5-yard line, and they've got the ball. They tipped it up into the air and intercepted. Latu. It's his third interception this season. Jones out of the gun, ball on the left hash, backs to throw, looking, throws right, caught the goal line, and that's a touchdown for the Colts. Back in to throw is Jones, looking, fires into the end zone, and it's a catch for a touchdown, and it's Drew Ogletree. Ball on the right hash, Jones gives off to Jonathan Taylor on a counter, follows his blocker, first down and more. Over on the right sideline, he is sprinting upfield for a first down, gallops inside the Chiefs half of the field, and Jonathan Taylor with a big explosive run.
Something wicked this way comes.
Kansas City can get a first down without scoring a touchdown. Now they got 3 people in the backfield with Mahomes. One on either side, and behind him is Kareem Hunt. They give it to Hunt, who jumps over the pile at the goal line, and he's in. Mahomes out of the gun. 3 receivers deployed to the right side. Backs to throw, looking, fires, end zone, caught. Rasheed Rice, 2-point conversion, good. Mahomes in his own end zone, looking to pass. Throws over the middle, run after the catch. 25, 30-yard line, over the far sideline, 40, 45, 50-yard line, and being pushed out of bounds is Rasheed Rice, as he caught a dart over the middle by Patrick Mahomes and used that speed to burn for a big play to the 50-yard line for a gain of 47 yards. Butker with a 25-yard field goal. Snap placement, kick is up, and it is good. And we're going to overtime. Kansas City 0-5 this year in one-score games. Snap placement, kick is up, and it is good for the Chiefs. And they win in walk-off fashion in overtime.
Didn't execute in some key situations. Got to do a better job, I think, overall in our execution. And tough to have a stretch like that towards the end of the game.
I felt there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to get called that I felt good about in the pass game. And we just weren't efficient doing it. And it starts with me. Being efficient on 1st and 10. At times we did that a little bit, but we didn't do it enough in the second half. It wasn't good enough. And it starts with myself. I think we got to be better in all phases. Run and pass, moving the football.
That's what happened yesterday in overtime loss. Shane Steichen talking about it. 23-20 on the road at Arrowhead against Kansas City. Had a 20-9 lead when they started the fourth quarter and let it get away. Along with Kevin Bowen, I'm Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton in studio today on the Fan Morning Show, and of course the other member of our team, James Boyd, en route home from Kansas City, where he watched it in person yesterday. Good morning, JB. Thanks for joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline this morning. What happened? What happened?
The Chiefs happened. I mean, this is what they usually do, right? They had a chance to finally close out a close game, did that for the first time this year. And I felt like, from the Colts standpoint, Shane Steichen kind of wilted under the pressure of the game, pressure of the moment, and really, in a tendency that I've seen over the last couple of years, he forgot to use the run, which has become a theme for him sometimes when games get tight.
James, I think Jeff was referring to your tweet from last night. That's where I wanted to begin first. James Boyd on Twitter. Currently at the hotel bar restaurant, there's a woman here crying and pouring her heart out about cheating with her best friend's boyfriend, and she's trying to defend it. James Boyd quoting here, "I was drunk. I didn't know what I did," quoting the girl, to be clear here. James, how did that play out?
It played out pretty pathetically, honestly. I was listening to all of this because she was so loud talking to one of her friends, and the friend, God bless this girl for listening and trying to reason with her, but I was thinking, tell your friend that she's a cheater and a liar, and then maybe we can get somewhere and get a little breakthrough here. But yeah, I actually tipped my my bartender a little extra last night because I could tell she was not signing up for the therapy session that was going on.
Yeah, that's a hell of a Sunday night at the hotel bar. James Boyd with us here as he's traveling back from Kansas City. Okay, where do we stand on the 8 straight pass plays from Daniel Jones, the explanation from Shane Steichen, locker room thoughts? How much did they get away from Jonathan Taylor?
I think that it's just not good enough from Shane, and he said that himself, but to stand up there and continue to say the same thing in games like this, it's frustrating because I get that from one standpoint, the run was not working. You only had really one real JT-looking run yesterday on that 27-yarder, but the thing is, with Shane, you got to remember, time is still your friend, and I think he coached that game. When he's looking back at it, it felt like he was coaching it like they were down 10, with, 8 minutes to go versus being up. I mean, you can't have a lead and then basically give the Chiefs extra timeouts because you continue to throw the ball. And on top of that, you got to understand your quarterback is spiraling, and he was not looking like the guy who was, pretty clean in the first half. So to me, that was the case of being too stubborn, and that's sometimes what Shane does. He's a brilliant offensive mind, deserves a ton of credit for what happened this year, but in moments like this, dude, even if you get stuffed a couple of times with JT, the clock is your friend. As we saw, the Chiefs needed literally every second to extend that game.
James Boyd joining us from somewhere en route back from Kansas City as we talk about the Colts' overtime loss yesterday. All right, so the defense, they give up the 90-yard drive in the fourth quarter, couldn't make a stop in overtime. I get all that. Overall, how'd they do yesterday?
Yeah, I think they did pretty well, Jeff. I mean, anytime you force 2 turnovers, you hold the Chiefs to 20 points in regulation, and of course you want to get off the field there late, so I can't give them too much credit. But I thought they did okay, and looking at the tandem of Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner, I thought that both of them in tandem really put a lot of pressure on the Chiefs to execute. They got a couple coverage sacks, I would say, just from covering so long that their guys were able to get home. But I think, a lot of points that you probably made throughout the show already, they really missed DeForest Buckner. And it could tell in that pass rush. There were times where you're like, man, Mahomes might not have anybody to throw to, but he can wait all day back there until somebody finally gets open. And when you're asking guys to cover for 7 and 8 seconds, usually they'll find an answer. So I would give the defense maybe a C+, not a terrible game, not a great game, but overall they're missing DeForest Buckner for sure. There's something to build on.
James, last one for me. I believe Ashton Dulin, I know, left with an injury, and I think Mooney Ward mentioned to you guys after the game that was actually a chest, not a head injury, to be clear on that, and what he got checked out for?
Yes, absolutely. That was one of the questions that, shout out to Dominic Miranda, our partner over WTHR, who had a chance to kind of follow up with him. And he mentioned how scary he was about that and about that hit. And he was saying, man, I don't know if I would have never played again this season had it been another concussion. But he also said on a more positive note that it was good to kind of get hit, not in the head, obviously, but just get hit body-wise, give out a hit, and kind of trust himself a little bit more on those things. So he felt pretty good in the locker room. And he said he was excited to continue to get back into the fold. And if there's anybody whose message rung the loudest to me, it was probably him and Zaire Franklin, but more so Charvarius Ward, because he's been a champion with the Chiefs, and he was saying, hey, this is what champions look like, and we have to get to that level. So he mentioned finishing as part of that, next step for this group, and I think that's a nice, sober thought for this group because they were right there and just let it go.
James, we got to let you go and get back to Indianapolis before we do, though. Were you able to find any great barbecue in Kansas City?
I did. Shout out to the Char Bar. I landed and went down there and watched football by myself. So I ate my barbecue nice and early, skipped the night crowd. But it was great. Food was great in Kansas City. Can't complain about that. Always be grateful for the traveling because it comes usually with a nice meal.
All right, buddy. Travel safe. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Sounds good. You all have a good one.
Hey, James.
James Boyd on the Payless Liquors hotline right there.
He forgot to say that he got the girl's number at the end of after the table conversation ended. Hey, lady, what's going on? My name's James Boyd. Nice
Looks like you're single now, right?
And I woke up next to her.
I see that all the time now. You got to be careful, apparently, for folks that are doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. Social media all the time, there's always somebody going, you're not going to believe what I just overheard. If your husband's name is Mark and he was in Brownsburg at the bowling alley on Saturday night, you need to find out what is up with this girl he was talking to the entire time. And then the internet goes to work, and the next thing you know, they got details on everything.
We should mention on Charvarius Mooney Ward, he did speak with the media Friday. This would have been after our show, after the final practice of the week, once he cleared concussion protocol. It was quite jarring, to be honest with you, hearing him describe his concussion symptoms over the last month plus. Again, he had a concussion earlier this season. He called that more of a migraine, is how he described it. He missed, I want to say it was just one game due to that. And then he runs into Drew Ogletree in warm-ups, over a month ago, and he said he was knocked out, dizzy for several weeks, throwing up as well. And as James mentioned to us right there, Mooney Ward said that he pondered if he'd ever play football again.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was quite jarring to hear him describe those concussion symptoms he had. And really, he said he didn't start to feel good until the bye week, which the bye week was just, 2 weeks ago. So when I saw that hit and just his reaction to it on Sunday, boy, I got quite nervous. Obviously it goes without saying you don't want to see anybody, dealing with a head injury or any injury, of course, but him in particular. So to hear that was just a chest, I guess, examination more than a head examination. Good news on that.
I can't remember if it was when he was coming off to the sideline or when they showed him again on the sideline, but he was kind of pointing to his chest when he was talking to the trainer. And I thought, oh, man, that's good.
By the way, the 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell didn't come with a tackling corner, did it? Don't think Sauce Gardner's in the tackling department, is he?
Did he get what'd you think of that face mask penalty against him?
I thought it was probably, if they're going to call the Chiefs for that one face mask earlier in the game, then Sauce Gardner probably gets whistled for that. I'm used to Colts corners, honestly, being great tacklers. Don't think Sauce Gardner fits that.
Probably not. Here we have an anonymous texter who says 2 very interesting penalties during the game that were huge. The roughing the passer call we've talked about this morning was very suspect, and a huge call in the game, and the illegal formation flag. It looked like when they were talking about was he off the hip of the center or not, that looked like they were really splitting hairs when you look back at that.
First drive, you had, 4 offensive line penalties on 4 different guys, if I'm not mistaken there, or maybe it was 3 of them. Yeah, you had a ton of them, and I thought in general the crew was terrible. Both sides of it, I thought they were terrible. I've made my piece about roughing the passer. I think the letter is what is particularly bad. I mean, how you're asking 250 to 350-pound defensive players to adjust their weight as they fall on these
Mid-air,
guys?
yeah.
I mean, what the hell are we doing?
Defy gravity.
Yeah, you want Grover Stewart to be a, runway model in a 2-piece bikini as well? I mean, come on. What the hell are
Defy
we doing?
gravity like your name is Elphaba and you're in the Wicked music.
I just had this terrible
Mark,
thought in my
can we
head.
get that song at some point this week?
I just had that terrible thought in my head of him walking down the runway like that, and then you right behind him in your Speedo. Don't do that.
We haven't had a lot of Kevin Bones Speedo talk. Should I get a cream and crimson Speedo here for this college football playoff?
Well, you got to decide in the college football playoff. You can't. Are you Indiana or Notre Dame moving forward?
I was going to say Hoosiers will revolt against you. They'll say no.
Well, I've always said if
through.
we have a championship under our market, I will happily do the Speedo trot around the circle here.
So we got. In other words, you're saying there's a really good chance we have 2 teams out of 12 that could get you to spin around the circle.
Is Notre Dame in? I
think they will be. Are they going to lose against Stanford? I think that the committee will put them in.
What a Brownsburg State championship. Will that get you in the Speedo? What are we doing?
Yeah.
How high is the bar here?
Let me go into Mike Wells' drawer and see if he's got any of those
Like
over
you
there.
and Mike together. You should have a race in Speedos out there on the circle.
That's an image I don't need.
One thing that's kind of a nerdy thing, we certainly need to move on. It's kind of a nerdy thing. I do think, shout out to Brian Mason, Colts special teams coordinator, Zionsville product. I think the Colts have been exceptional this year in just creating some of that special teams hidden yardage. Their coverage units have been outstanding. Rigoberto Sanchez, great. I thought Anthony Gould had a couple big punt returns yesterday. Did you guys have I didn't have an issue with them punting on 4th and 4. I know Romo was kind of blowing a gasket. Did you guys think they should have gone for that?
No, because I think the way that Kansas City had been playing, you give them the ball at that point in the field, it's over right then and there. If you go for that 4th down, I felt like you're saying, okay, it's all or nothing on this one play.
The Colts hadn't done anything offensively in the last, 10, 15 minutes. So I had no issue. I had no confidence in them getting the 4th and 4, let me be clear. And then by punting it, I thought you're forcing Kansas City to drive at least, 60 yards to get into field goal range?
Yeah.
Versus, to your point, Jeff, if they don't get it, then they need 15 yards to get into Bucker field goal range. Now, they ended up obviously getting into very easy field goal range, but I wasn't, Romo tried to make it, but the Colts will then get one more chance here late. I don't know. I see that as Kansas City driving down, scoring a touchdown there, and you losing the regulation.
Doesn't it feel, though, in that situation, once you're going to overtime, and it's at Arrowhead, and the referees are being weird all day long anyway, didn't it feel like when Kansas City tied that game up in 20, there was like a 90% chance the Chiefs were going to win at that point in time? I mean, this is what it felt like in my living room.
Yeah. The end of regulation was odd to me. It was like, are the Colts going to let Kansas City score? Does Kansas City want to score? Score a touchdown, that is.
Yeah, as the clock is going down at the end of regulation.
Yeah, it was one of those awkward, was it Ahmad Bradshaw in the Super Bowl? Was that the one that fell down or tried to fall down there? it was kind of one of those moments there. So it was a great play by Jermaine Pratt to force the tackle for loss there, but the Chiefs obviously settled for that field goal, and the rest is history in overtime.
Well, 23-20 was the final score yesterday. Yelling at clouds, texting in at 239-1070. Play calling in the second half was 180 degrees from the first half. Very odd. The one scoring drive that they had I thought was interesting. They come out, and they're using all kinds of players, right? Mo Alley Cox catches a ball. Ashton Doolin has a nice play, and then the touchdown throw to Ogletree. And you're like, wow, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be a Shane Steichen. Everybody's going to play a part here. The Chiefs aren't going to know where the things are coming from. And then it just kind of stalled after they got that 20-9 lead. I don't know where they went. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what happened.
I feel like they just got I don't know. The 2-score lead, I don't know if the pressure gets to them, if that's real in that stadium or not, where they've been there, done that. We're like, well, they're not dead yet. Like, we need to shoot them in the head and finish this thing like it's a Scream movie or something like that. But
one of those Westerns that Thad Matta said he was watching.
We need to put them down. And then all of a sudden when they weren't doing it, and like I said, I go back to that throw from Mahomes in the end zone to Rashee Rice, and that just seems to open the floodgates. Where it's like, oh boy, here we go. And then all of a sudden the defense was playing on their heels.
For the last 2 hours, I've explained my strong disagreement with Shane Steichen not giving the ball to his best player as much as he should have there in the fourth quarter. It also seems like Shane is going against his own mantra. What's his mantra?
You run to win.
Throw to score.
Run to win.
Run to win. Mm-hmm. You were up 20-9, 2-score lead with the ball, fourth quarter. You asked to sign up for that at breakfast Sunday morning. You got the opportunity. I get that Taylor wasn't lighting up the scoreboard, but Taylor in the second half and fourth quarter is a different animal. You give him the football. It was quite the amount of confidence he sent to Daniel Jones. That's honestly one of the messages I have leaving the game. I go, I didn't know Shane Steichen trusted Daniel Jones with the game on the line that much. Maybe he's rethinking that today.
Probably. Also, a couple of people have mentioned this today, both on my social media feed and also on the text line. Chris on the text line says, can we get comments on why Steichen did not challenge the 3rd and 8 reception by Noah Gray? Looked as the ball clearly touched the ground at the end and he never had full control. No, that looked to me like one of those, like,
was it clear?
I don't know if it was clear. The ball,
I never got a great replay.
The ball did touch the ground, but I couldn't tell if he still had possession of it while it touched the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I never got a great look at it. Obviously, it was a huge play. That created, 4th and 3 at that point?
Yeah. And then people mad about the no call on Chris Jones' late hit on Daniel Jones, which if you're going to throw every time a guy breathes on a quarterback, you would have thought that one would have been a roughing the passer as well.
Roughing the passer has equal into targeting as the stupidest penalty out there.
It's
For me,
tough.
Targeting should not be an ejection. I'm fine if you want to throw 15 yards for roughing the pass or for whatever. Unnecessary roughness, great. Ejecting them?
But it's one of those things, though. Don't we know roughing the passer when we see it? Like, if somebody's put a little extra on, or if the play is clearly late, or I have no problem with the head-to-head contact.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, the whole body weight, stupid.
We know what it looks like. I don't know if we know what referees think they know what it looks like.
Which, again, I feel bad for the referees having to, execute the letter. Because the letter, to me, is confusing as hell.
Yeah, I think when they try to clarify it more, they just make it muddier.
The rule book's the bigger problem.
Yeah. Last one here before we head to the check down 2. Area code 260 says, Shane gets scared. You saw it during the Broncos game. His anxiety takes over, and he doesn't have the calmness to close. Is that fair?
Scared.
Is that fair?
Scared, I don't. I mean, scared to me, you just hand it off to Taylor. If you're really scared, don't you go down with what you trust and you believe in? I thought it was pretty ballsy to give the ball to Daniel Jones for 8 straight pass plays. That, to me, is not scared. It's stupid.
And he said he basically explained this fourth quarter, we just weren't very efficient in executing what we wanted to do. That's what he came down on, ultimately.
I mean, that's nice to say after the fact. But during the game, you had to have known that you weren't leaning on Taylor as much as you should have. And you were putting a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones to deliver in triple coverage at one point. I don't know what that was.
All right, let's check it down, and we'll talk more about this with your phone calls and your texts right after the break at 239-1070. Mark Dykton, let's go. Colts led it 20-9 heading into the fourth quarter. The Chiefs get a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, a last-second field goal, and then the game winner in overtime. That's the quick version. What's the investigative version of the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I mean, they got away from Jonathan Taylor. I hate to just pretty much repeat what I said 3 minutes ago, but that's pretty much what happened. I thought some other things that factored in the game. Certainly, shout out to Latu and Zaire Franklin. 2 huge turnovers. They lead directly to 7, 10, 14 points, however you want to look at it, from taking some Chiefs points off the board there. I would have liked to have seen a few more dialed-up shots to Alec Pierce. I just think he's such a weapon that you have to do that in your game plan as well. If you're going to throw it as many times as they did there in the fourth quarter, I would have liked to have seen a few more of those.
4 sacks recorded by the Colts yesterday. A couple of them as Mahomes is trying to get back to the line of scrimmage, but that counts all the same. What do you think of the pass rush as a whole?
Yeah, I still just want more. I don't know. Right now I'm just frustrated by Kwity Paye seemingly rushed the passer, engaging in the tackle, and all of a sudden your edge pressure's over there. So I get that the numbers are 4 sacks and 56 pass attempts is a decent number, but it just didn't seem it seemed like Mahomes had a lot of time to just pat on. But granted, Mahomes kind of does that.
Here's the thing. Offensively, despite scoring the 23 points and needing the last-second field goal and the game winner in overtime, Patrick Mahomes throws for 352 yards. They ran as a team for 148, and it's not like Kareem Hunt was gouging them, but they never went away from that, Kevin. They gave him the ball 30 times yesterday.
Yeah, some big short yardages converted by Hunt as well. So that was a big focus for them. Would they lean on the run game a little bit more? And I guess when you have 90 plays, you lean on everything.
All right, so the Colts now fall to 8-3, and they will have another opportunity to improve their playoff position this coming Sunday when they play at home in a divisional game. And it's time to start. And look, they got divisional games stacking up now. They've got the Texans at home on Sunday, followed by a road game at Jacksonville. They will play both of those two teams to finish the season as well. And really, if we think about it, Kevin, at this point in time with an 8-3 record, those four games, if they could go 3-1, they're probably in good shape, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if you go 3-1, probably. Anything short of that, though, and it could get dicey in a hurry there. So, boy, the time is now. I mean, it is. I cannot stress enough how vital these next 2 weeks are. Home to Houston, at Jacksonville, just massive, massive games.
If you can't get both of them, which one do you want more?
Well, I think given the standings, I still say Jacksonville. Now, Mark, who's the better football team?
Yeah.
I think it's Houston.
I agree.
But I don't know. Maybe I'd have to take a closer look at, all the records. And I guess to be fair, the Houston game's at home, Jacksonville game's on the road. So, do you need the Houston game now because you don't want to go there? Is that week 18? It's week 18 there, right?
I believe so.
Do you want to go there with the season on the line? Obviously, they came here with the season on the line 2 years ago and beat you. So that's another thing to throw in there.
Best team record-wise in the NFL right now, the New England Patriots. They're 10-2. They survived a pick 6 at Cincinnati yesterday to win 26-20. And should we start taking them for real? Should we start looking at Drake May and Mike Vrabel as a team that's going to be really tough to beat, especially if they earn home field advantage?
It's a team I don't think I would be too afraid of in the playoffs, to be honest with you.
I mean, they're 10.
I'm just not over. I get their record, and I should probably acknowledge it, but there are other teams in the AFC I would like to avoid.
But look at some of the teams they've played. The Raiders, the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Saints, the Titans. They still have they just beat the Jets and the Bengals. They still have the Giants, the Jets again, the Dolphins again. I don't know. I know you can only play teams that are on your schedule, but I've watched the Patriots and I'm not. There's nothing that says they're going to be they're stamped their way to the AFC Championship game.
This is mean, but it feels like a Tennessee Titans 1 seed.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, high school football over the weekend. We now have determined who will be playing for the state championships on Friday and Saturday. It'll be the odd classes on Friday, and 1A Pioneer will take on South Putnam, followed by Fort Wayne Lures and Cascade in 3A. The 5A game Friday night will be New Pal and Merrillville. Then on Saturday, it'll be Brownstown versus Andrean, and the 2A game, Roncalli and Fort Wayne Bishop Dwenger in the 4A game. And to finish all off, the late game, 6A, Brownsburg taking on Westfield. That's going to be a fun weekend of high school football, Kevin.
Yeah, cannot wait. Again, odd classes coming up Friday, even on Saturday for those that missed it. Miles McLaughlin, his career rushing total ends about 300 yards short of Derrick Henry, held to 73 yards. That is an extremely low number for him. Shout out to Fort Wayne Bishop Bluers and their defensive effort on him.
College basketball, Butler beat Virginia 80-73 yesterday. They go 2-0 in Greenbrier, and they have a 5-1 record so far this year, and got a nice little quad one victory over Virginia.
Yeah, I would expect it to be it. We aren't yet to quad one season, but I would assume, neutral court over them. So really, I mean, it's been a while, I think, since Butler, I think, has built kind of a non-conference resume that you could look at. And so far, the Colts lost to SMU. You hold serve against Boise in your own building here a week from Saturday. If you beat Northwestern inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, that's a nice non-conference. And I think it's important because the Big East doesn't look like a ton of opportunity this year outside of UConn and St. John's.
Yep. Notre Dame will play Kansas this afternoon, 3:30 tip. That one will be in Las Vegas, Kevin. There's still time for you and I to catch a flight out there.
Let's
go.
Please don't tease me.
How would that conversation go with the newborn at home with Maddie?
She would understand.
Jeff and I are going to Vegas for a couple days.
Notre Dame basketball.
Get back to us. You have to do me a favor, roll on that conversation so we can play it back tomorrow. Can we do that?
Might sound like the conversation James had at the hotel bar.
Coming up on college football schedule this weekend, Indiana plays Purdue Friday night, 7:30 kick at Ross-Ade Stadium. Do want to point out Marion wins the Midwest League over the weekend with a 45-0 shutout of St. Xavier University. They'll advance to the NAIA playoffs, also Division II playoffs. Minnesota State will be playing Indianapolis. And in Division III, Hanover goes up against North Central Illinois, while DePauw plays UW-Whitewater. Lots of playoff football in Indiana this year, Kevin. Everywhere.
I love it. Are we getting snow in the bucket game again? How's our weather looking Friday night in West Lafayette?
I'm going to call that up and look at it right now and tell you all about it when we come back from the break here. We'll take more phone calls and texts. 239-1070. It's the Fan Morning Show at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. And the Pacers play at home tonight.
With KB, JB, and Jeff.
But Butker out of the timeout, measures it up again. This is from 27 yards in overtime. Game tied at 20. Kansas City 0-5 this year in one-score games. Ariza to put it down. Waiting on the short snap. Snap, placement, kick is up, and it is good for the Chiefs. And they win in walk-off fashion in overtime.
Tough loss for the Colts. We've been talking about it for the last 2.5 hours or so, and I'm just curious now, Kevin, after the Chiefs lost to the Broncos last week, had the Colts been able to finish that 20-9 lead off, do we put the Colts away for the rest of the season right there? Is that just it for them?
Put the Chiefs away?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Because they're in the toughest division, the AFC. But, it's kind of weird right now. The Colts are still in a really good playoff spot. I want to make that clear. You have 1 game lead over Jacksonville, 2 over the Texans. Obviously, you would sign up at the start of the year for 8-3 going into Thanksgiving. One interesting thing to note on the standings right now, if you look at the first 3 teams out of the playoffs, I believe it's Pittsburgh, Houston, Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts lost to Pittsburgh, lost to Kansas City, and you have 2 left with Houston. So if for some reason this snowballs and the Colts start to have their first losing streak of the season, or December does not go, according to plan, the head-to-head tiebreaker with Pittsburgh, the head-to-head tiebreaker with Kansas City, potentially Houston, it could get dicey. Now, again, you're at 8-3, and you also have head-to-heads over Denver and the Chargers. The problem is Denver isn't going to matter. I mean, Denver's at 9-2 right now. So just something to keep an eye on. I still think the Colts are in nice playoff position, but just something to watch.
I will tell you this, for the first time this year, the Colts no longer have the best point differential. That now belongs to the Los Angeles Rams with their big win over the Buccaneers last night. They are a plus 127. Colts are second in the league at plus 112. They'd been leading that fairly comfortably just until the last couple of weeks, Kevin.
Mark, let's see some headlines.
Read all about it.
I can't read it. There's no words on it. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
Ripped from the headlines of the newspaper.
We'll do it live.
Post-game headlines.
Thing sucks.
All right, so after every Colts game, win or loss, I always throw out the tweet on the show account in 5 words or less. Your thoughts on the game. What would be your headlines from the game? And boy, you can tell a lot of people were in their feelings yesterday because people weren't exactly counting their words yesterday. I said 5 words or less, and I got soliloquies on some of them where I'm like, hey, there's a word count here. We have to keep it within 5, folks. So
no respect for the teacher.
Yeah, I know. Come on, slap the ruler. I know Thanksgiving break is around the corner. We still got some school here. All right, Ryan Morphew, I think I said that name right, says Giants Daniel Jones is here. Chris Baxter says Colts just crap their pants. Colts throw the game away, said Yellow Dart 2448. Run the damn ball, which is a lot of people's sentiment. By Brian Tellman said that.
Can we go back to Yellow Dart? I think that's underrated. Colts throw the game away.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
8 straight Daniel Jones passes. Yellow Dart, nice work.
What was the other one I just saw? Non-existent offense loses after halftime. That was C. Fez said that. And then I saw a couple other ones. Where did they go?
I got one here from Jason. At least JT is fresh.
Yeah. Another Jason said, Shane, where are the layups? I would agree with that one.
Ooh. Tyler, refs bad, Shane worse.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like that one.
You worry at all about your defense? Like stamina-wise, 90 plays? Texans.
They're going to wear anybody down, you do that.
Texans get 10 days off. No, I'm talking about for Sunday.
For Sunday?
Texans get 10 days off. Colts, by the way, will go walk through Wednesday. They are a lot of teams around the league, I think, adopt this at this point of the season. So Colts will go walk through Wednesday, earlier practice Thursday for Thanksgiving.
Now, the good news is they came off a big break before that 90 play performance. So, man, I don't know. I think I would have said something along the lines of Mahomes Reed outsmart Staken.
I don't know if they outsmarted him, as Shane was just dumb.
I thought that they got out coached because, well, dumb, whatever. you can't do that against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Holly said, "Gotta learn to finish games." I would agree.
Yeah, I think that overarching thought is what stings the most from yesterday. 2-score lead with the ball in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the best running back in
on
the game.
the road in a hostile environment against a team that's routinely in the Super Bowl.
Now, again,
you've got to finish them off.
You want to reach for the glass half full right now? You'd rather Sunday matters more. Next Sunday matters more. Yesterday hurt for the 1 seed, don't get me wrong, and it's tightening the playoff picture. Any AFC loss at this point of the season isn't ideal. I don't want to sweep it under the rug, but this one Sunday is massive, and the 1 week. And if you guys got the standings up there, schedule up there, doesn't Jacksonville have Tennessee this week? I would think.
I believe they do. Let me check.
So, on paper, that is a game the Jags.
At Tennessee, yeah.
They're at Tennessee.
That's a game the Jags should win. Granted, they seemingly go to overtime with, a bunch of mediocre football teams, but nonetheless, if Jacksonville takes care of business, no matter what happens on Sunday, even if the Colts win, then if Jacksonville beats Indy at home next Sunday, technically they're the AFC South leaders.
Jaguars still have the Titans twice, the Jets, the Colts twice, and the Broncos. That's how they wrap the season.
Really? That is their schedule the rest of the way?
Yeah.
Man, that's got to be one of the... Oh, boy, that's a manageable schedule.
There are a lot of bad football teams, Kevin. 8 teams. We're 12 weeks in. 8 teams have 3 wins or fewer in the NFL.
I think there's a top and a bottom. There's not a lot of middle this year in the AFC. How many teams are above 500 right now in the AFC?
You've got New England,
10?
Denver, Indianapolis, the Ravens, Chargers, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Houston. And yes, Kansas City, 10 teams at 500, over 500.
That's 10 of your 16 right there. Baltimore is now leading the AFC North. Unbelievable.
I know, it was ridiculous at the time, 5 weeks ago, when they were still the favorites to win the AFC North. Doesn't look so silly now.
And I don't think Jackson is fully healthy and even playing his best football
No.
yet. He didn't look healthy
The
yesterday.
Steelers have come down to earth, and the rest of the division stinks.
All right, more in a moment. We'll wrap it up with a couple more of your comments, phone calls, whatever. 239-1070. It comes your way next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
I'll go back and look at it, but yeah, I think the backed up one, we ran it and lost 2 yards, got us in a second pass situation. First, and the next one we threw it, and we dumped it down to Taylor on a screen, got us to a 3rd and 3, didn't convert there. And then we had the other one, we had an RPO where we threw it there to Tree. And then obviously they stopped us on the 3rd and 1. And so, yeah, we got to be better. I got to be better.
No argument here, Kevin Bowen. They got to be better. He's got to be better. Colts now get their 3rd loss of the year after the overtime loss to Kansas City yesterday. 23-20 the final score. I'm checking out the latest odds. Maybe we've already seen him, Mark Dykton, on NFL MVP at this point in time.
Oh, it's got to be Stafford, right?
Yeah, they're always going to go to the quarterback first. But when do you start? Maybe if he continues the second half the way he started the middle part of the season, do you start to put Jahmyr Gibbs in there? He's putting up some monster games too lately.
Yeah, I again, even when Taylor had his little run there, I don't think running backs are going to garner enough attention. Colts 3-point favorite, Mark, for Sunday. Is that right?
That's the last I saw. Yeah. Yep.
Over the Houston Texans. Expectation is C.J. Stroud will be back for this one.
It'd be nice to have a game at Lucas Oil Stadium again. I feel like it's
First
been
time
like
in a month.
4.5 months now.
And then they don't come back until December 22nd.
Yeah.
The Monday nighter with San Francisco. It's kind of wild how little home field action here, but it seems
the
to
Irish
be almost
goodbye. I was here. See you later.
It seems to be almost annual, though. I feel like they have a home game the Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend, right after the state finals.
I like that. You got to worry. The offensive line has really got to step up because last I saw that Texans defense on Thursday night, they just abused Josh Allen. Just abused him all night long. And I like Daniel Jones, but he's not Josh Allen. And that offensive line has not been great the last 3 games.
I think the Colts have been better at home this season pretty significantly. I also am not sold on this Houston offense with or without C.J. Stroud. And so I do think that is advantage Colts in that area. Now, Nico Collins has wrecked some Colts games, but you don't go out and get Mooney Ward and Sauce Gardner thinking that Nico Collins is going to do that. But Jeff, to your point, those 2 dudes, Anderson and Hunter, they can wreck a game. So that's the key, bar none. You can't get into those situations where those 2 are on an island, and that to me is the biggest question given where your offense is at right now. But I'm curious, can they stop Taylor?
We will find out in a few days. Right now, Ray joins us. He's going to get the last word for. Ray, you just dropped
Literally
off.
just dropped
Ray,
off.
I was coming right to you, Ray. We were going to make some time for Ray to be able to contribute there at the very end, but we will take a look at some of the texts that have been coming in. A lot of people wonder, too, like, how do you select to receive in overtime? Like, why take the ball first? We've talked about that a lot, and really there are great arguments for both sides, Kevin. You talk about the fact that Shane Steichen says, well, if you take it first, it's only a 10-minute quarter. You might get 2 possessions as opposed to just 1 possession. My biggest fear yesterday was that offense hadn't done anything for 15 minutes, and if you don't do something right out of the gate, you're just going to give Patrick Mahomes a chance to win the game just with a field goal.
Well, counter to that would be your defense is probably gassed after a 15-play, 90-yard drive. You sending them back out there?
Again,
Kansas City had 3rd and 7 on their drive from their own 24. That was the big play to Xavier Worthy over the middle. If that ball is incomplete from the 24, there was still about 5 minutes to go in overtime. I would assume Kansas City punts there. I don't think 4th and 7, you're going for that. I get that Kansas City, the game meant more to Kansas City than it did Indy from a win-loss standpoint. So I think that is something, again, not that I'm saying I agree with Steichen's rationale, just trying to explain it for him. I think Steichen views it as if there's a 3rd possession at overtime, you're going to get the ball.
What else? We have a lot of new texters today. Do me a favor when you text in, put your name on there so we can keep you in the files for later on, and we can call you by your name too. But here's Cody who says, I'm a little bit behind on the stream, but Mark just nailed it. They got nervous in the moment, the environment, and maybe even the reputation of their opponent got to them. They choked. Is it fair enough to just say they choked, or did they just make a bunch of mistakes? I don't know that they were all nervous and peeing on themselves, but I didn't like the play calls, Kevin. The 4th quarter, you got to give the ball to Jonathan Taylor.
I racked that up his nerves a little bit. You're going against what's brought you to the dance. You had them where you wanted them, up 2 scores, and instead you folded down the stretch. Can't do that against solid teams. You're going to play teams like Kansas City in the playoffs, so you need to be able to close those games out.
Yeah, very odd faith for me in putting the ball into the right hand of Daniel Jones with the game on the line, and thus not giving the ball to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, we've talked about it, we've debated a bit, we've pushed each other on, but at the end of the day, Kevin, you're right. You got to give the ball to Jonathan Taylor. We've talked about it. It's almost simple, but they lost that game yesterday because they didn't trust their best player.
And again,
the game on the line.
3-prong, not giving the ball to Taylor, a man who's thrived in the second half and fourth quarters, thus exposing Daniel Jones, and then also the clock element, which, again, I'm not like married to you have to do everything to drain the clock, but I didn't think there were some moments there, an extra first down or two could have been very helpful for your defense.
Coming up later on today, Jay Query will take your phone calls and talk about what he saw in that game yesterday. JMV has the ride home beginning at 3 o'clock on the drive, and we look forward to hearing them. Have yourselves a great day. James will be back tomorrow. We'll see you.